Chapter 1894. The Sea of Despair. As usual, it was bone-chillingly cold. This sea, because it was the habitat of the mermaid clan, was not damaged at all. The undersea city was still as lively and prosperous as before. Qin Feiyang brought the mermaid princess through the desert of death and arrived above the coastline of the Sea of Despair. Qin Feiyang glanced at the sea in front of him and said with a smile, "Do you still remember the scene when we first met?" The mermaid princess was taken aback. Thinking back carefully, her cheeks suddenly blushed. Of course, she remembered the scene of their first encounter. At that time, she was lying on a rock, basking in the sun. Because of the desert of death, no one could come to the Sea of Despair, so she was at ease and dared to bare her body. But in the end, she was seen by Qin Feiyang and the others, and there was a lot of friction. Qin Feiyang said proudly, "At that time, you probably didn't think that you would like me." "Who likes you? Don't be so smug." The mermaid princess rolled her eyes at him. "Huh," Qin Feiyang laughed, looked up at the sea, and said, "I remember that the sea is very cold. Back then, when I touched the water, my fingers were frozen. What was your cultivation level at that time? It's definitely different now. After all, you're already a war god at the small completion stage." The mermaid princess said. "That's true." Qin Feiyang nodded with a smile, grabbed the mermaid princess, and jumped into the sea. The cold sea swept over. But Qin Feiyang didn't feel cold at all. "I miss it so much." The mermaid princess slapped the sea with both hands, like a little elf, and laughed happily. "Yeah. I miss it so much." Qin Feiyang looked at the mermaid princess and muttered. "You don't live here, what do you miss?" The mermaid princess was puzzled. But when she looked at Qin Feiyang, she found that Qin Feiyang was staring at her. "What are you looking at?" The mermaid princess was suspicious. She lowered her head and looked at herself. Her face immediately turned red. Under the immersion of the seawater, the clothes on her body became translucent, faintly discernible. Qin Feiyang came back to his senses. Looking at that beautiful face, his heart suddenly skipped a beat. Subsequently, he glanced around and saw that there was no one around. Then, he hugged the mermaid princess' slender waist. Their bodies were instantly pressed against each other. The mermaid princess's cheeks were almost dripping water. Qin Feiyang felt a fire burning in his heart. He couldn't help but lower his head and kiss the mermaid princess' lips. The mermaid princess's heart was also pounding, and she slowly closed her eyes. Voila! However, at this moment, the sea surface not far away exploded, and two mermaids rushed out. Qin Feiyang and the mermaid princess were taken aback and turned their heads to look. The two mermaids scanned the surrounding sea surface and soon saw Qin Feiyang and the mermaid princess. "Princess? Qin Feiyang?" Looking at Qin Feiyang and mermaid princess, the two mermaids were taken aback at first, and then they immediately looked ecstatic. But then, they were stunned again, looking at the ambiguous posture of Qin Feiyang and the mermaid princess at the moment. One of the mermaids muttered, "Hey, hey, hey, we seem to have come out at the wrong time. It's not as if, it's originally." The other mermaid said. The two of them immediately quivered. "Princess, young Master Qin, I'm really sorry, we just heard movement on the sea surface, so we came up to check, but we didn't expect it to be you. Sorry to disturb, sorry to disturb. I'm really sorry, we'll leave right away. You can continue." After the two mermaids finished speaking, they slipped into the sea and disappeared. Qin Feiyang was dumbfounded as he watched. The mermaid princess's cheeks were boiling hot. She lowered her head and murmured, "That, we," Qin Feiyang withdrew his gaze and looked down at the mermaid princess's red cheeks. The flame in his heart burned again. At this moment, the woman in his arms was like a ripe apple, making it difficult for him to suppress the restlessness in his heart. Qin Feiyang whispered, "They shouldn't come again, we." The mermaid princess buried herself in Qin Feiyang's arms and nodded. If you're like this, how can I, then what do you want me to do? Raise your head. I won't. Raise it. No. Then I'll do it. You dare. See if I dare. Rogue, I'm going to shout for help. Go ahead and shout until your throat breaks. It's useless. Just as Qin Feiyang regrouped and kissed her again, another mermaid appeared with a splash. My bad temper, do you have any eyes? Qin Feiyang was annoyed. Ahem, are you talking about me? The mermaid coughed dryly. This voice, Qin Feiyang's body stiffened. The mermaid princess was also slightly stunned. She turned her head and her face suddenly changed. She hurriedly pushed Qin Feiyang away and condensed a boundary to isolate the sea water and evaporate the water on her dress. Qin Feiyang didn't dare to look. He looked at the mermaid princess and asked, "Is it true?" "It's true." The mermaid princess nodded. Qin Feiyang's mouth twitched, and then a bright smile appeared on his face. He turned to look at the mermaid and said, Uncle, good morning." That's right. The mermaid that appeared this time was the mermaid princess's father. Good morning. The mermaid emperor looked up at the sky and said meaningfully, "It's not early anymore." Is it? Qin Feiyang laughed. It's all your fault. The mermaid princess rolled her eyes at Qin Feiyang and looked at the mermaid emperor. Daughter greets father. You still know that I'm your father. When you secretly left the Sea of Despair, didn't you think of this old thing? Sure enough, a grown girl can't be kept at home. The mermaid emperor looked at the mermaid princess with a straight face and snorted coldly. The mermaid princess was a little confused and pulled Qin Feiyang's clothes. Qin Feiyang smiled embarrassedly and said, "Uncle, look at the beautiful weather. Shouldn't we talk about something happy?" The mermaid emperor looked at Qin Feiyang and then looked at the nervous mermaid princess. He laughed and said, "Silly girl, I'm just joking with you. Seeing that you're back, I can't be happier." Father, the mermaid princess was stunned. She looked up at the mermaid emperor and could not help but cry. The mermaid emperor sighed and stepped forward to grab the mermaid princess's hand. His face was full of love and said, "Girl, it's been hard on you." "It's not hard." The mermaid princess shook her head. "All right, it's good that you're back. Let's go home." The mermaid emperor pulled the mermaid princess and swam to the bottom of the sea. Qin Feiyang followed behind the two awkwardly. The mermaid emperor glanced at Qin Feiyang and asked coldly, "Boy, if I didn't come out, would you take the opportunity to eat my daughter?" Qin Feiyang was stunned and laughed dryly. "Uncle, where did this come from?" "Father, what are you talking about?" The mermaid princess blushed and said angrily. "Did I say something wrong? You're still too young. Men are basically the same. Before you get it, you treat it like a treasure. But after you get it, you have a different attitude." The mermaid emperor said. "Father, Feiyang is not that kind of person." The mermaid princess said. "In short, before we get married, boy, you'd better behave yourself." The mermaid emperor snorted coldly. Yes, yes, yes." Qin Feiyang nodded repeatedly. He had no choice. This was his future father-in-law. He could not afford to offend him. Undersea City. It was an enormous city made up of palaces of various sizes. The glazed tiles of various colors were glowing in the water. Colorful corals, seaweed of all shapes and sizes, and shells as white as jade decorated the city, making it look like a fairyland. There were also large and small glazed tiles, agates, and pearls. There were even many rare treasures of heaven and earth, such as water-repelling beads and cold-repelling beads. It could be said that any item here would be priceless in the outside world. But here, they were just exquisite decorations. There were also countless mermaids of all kinds. Some were extremely ugly. Some were very beautiful. In short, this was a very beautiful place. There were all kinds of strange things. The Mermaid Emperor led the Mermaid Princess and Qin Feiyang straight to a gorgeous palace. This was the palace of the mermaid clan. More than 20 mermaids stood neatly on both sides of the main hall. They all had 2 pairs of wings. The mermaid on the left was White Wing. The mermaid on the right was Black Wing. Qin Feiyang was no stranger to these mermaids. The White Wing mermaid was called the White Wing Guard. The Black Wing mermaid was called the Black Wing Guard. And in the center of the main hall, there were 2 mermaids standing side by side. One of them had white wings and the other had black wings, but there were 3 pairs of wings on their backs. Obviously, they both had the cultivation of a war master. When the Mermaid Emperor led Qin Feiyang and his wife into the main hall, the 2 mermaids immediately bowed and said, "White-winged monarch, black-winged monarch, welcome Princess and Lord Qin." The mermaid princess walked up and said with a smile, "Uncles, there's no need to be so polite. It's good that the princess is back. Yes, all these years, when you left home, your father couldn't eat and couldn't sleep at night. We were anxious to see him." The 2 sighed. "How can it be as exaggerated as you say?" The Mermaid Emperor shook his head and smiled. He walked to the throne above and waved his hand. "Sit down and talk." The 2 mermaids sat on the 2 chairs on the left. Qin Feiyang and the Mermaid Princess sat on the 2 chairs on the right. The Mermaid Emperor smiled and said, "Qin Feiyang, I don't need to introduce these 2, right?" Qin Feiyang looked at the 2 mermaids and said with a smile, "If I remember correctly, you 2 are the White Wing King and Black Wing King who wanted to seize the throne at that time." When the 2 heard this, their bodies trembled slightly. Qin Feiyang smiled faintly and said, "Don't be nervous. It's all in the past. I won't bother about it anymore." "Thank you, young Master Qin." The 2 of them quickly stood up and thanked him. In fact, they were worried that Qin Feiyang would cause trouble for them this time. One had to know. The current Qin Feiyang was no longer the same as before. To deal with the 2 of them, he only needed to move his fingers. So at this moment, when they heard Qin Feiyang's words, they couldn't help but heave a sigh of relief. Chapter 1895. Father, what's going on? I remember that when I left the Sea of Despair, their attitude wasn't so good either. The Mermaid Princess glanced at the Black Wing Monarch and asked telepathically. I've already told them about how Feiyang killed the 5 mermaid patriarchs. So now, they probably don't even have time to react. How would they dare to act rashly? The Mermaid Emperor chuckled. I see. The Mermaid Princess nodded in realization. The Mermaid Emperor glanced at Qin Feiyang with a hint of a smile in his eyes. He had not misjudged him. This kid's achievements were limitless. Now that he had this son-in-law, no one in the mermaid clan would dare to oppose him. The more he thought about it, the brighter the smile on the Mermaid Emperor's face became. He looked at Qin Feiyang and said, "Feiyang." When Qin Feiyang heard this, he hurriedly looked at the Mermaid Emperor and said, "Uncle, please speak your mind. Why are you so nervous? You're a god of war. With my strength, what can I do to you?" The Mermaid Emperor rolled his eyes at him. Qin Feiyang smiled awkwardly. Although he was right, would he dare to use force against his future father-in-law? The Mermaid Emperor glanced at Qin Feiyang and then at the Mermaid Princess. He sighed and said, "Feiyang, you know what my girl is thinking. Here we go again." Qin Feiyang sighed inwardly. Obviously, he was urging them to get married. He looked at the Mermaid Princess with a hint of apology in his eyes. The Mermaid Princess also knew what Qin Feiyang was trying to express. She shook her head understandingly, implying that he should not feel guilty. "Thank you," Qin Feiyang said secretly. He held the Mermaid Princess' hand tightly and looked up at the Mermaid Emperor. He nodded and said, "I know. Then you should also know how much she has sacrificed over the years for you." The Mermaid Emperor said. Qin Feiyang nodded. "I didn't rush you in the past because your wish hasn't been fulfilled yet. But now, the misunderstanding between you and your father has been resolved. The demon ancestor and Mu Tianyang have also been eliminated. Now that Great Qin has stabilized, shouldn't you give my daughter a stable home? The Mermaid Emperor said. As expected. Qin Feiyang mumbled. That's right, young Master Qin. The princess is deeply in love with you. You can't let her down. The Black Wing Monarch and the Black Wing Monarch followed. Their goal was completely different from the Mermaid Emperor's. The Mermaid Emperor was just thinking for his daughter. He wanted his daughter to be happy. As for the Black Wing Monarch and his companion, they wanted to tie down Qin Feiyang as their backer. After all, no matter if it was the current Great Qin or the Forgotten Continent, Qin Feiyang was someone who could speak with authority. With this backing, their merfolk clan could basically do whatever they wanted on these two continents in the future. Qin Feiyang looked at the three of them in silence. What? Could it be that you're really a person who abandons her? Seeing Qin Feiyang remain silent for a long time, the Mermaid Emperor frowned. The Mermaid Princess hurriedly said, Father, Feiyang isn't that kind of person. Since he isn't, then give me an answer. I'm still waiting to hold my grandson. Moreover, I only have you as my daughter. I'm already old. In the future, there will definitely be someone who will inherit the throne of our merfolk clan. If you don't work harder and give me a fat child, won't our merfolk clan have no successors in the future? The Mermaid Emperor said angrily. Father, what are you talking about? The Mermaid Princess said angrily. I'm just telling the truth. You have to give me a little goldfish. The Mermaid Emperor snorted coldly. Little goldfish? Qin Feiyang was stunned. Father, even if I marry Feiyang, I might not give birth to a little goldfish. It might be a pure human like Feiyang. The Mermaid Princess said helplessly with a red face. The children born from the union of a human and a mermaid might be human or mermaid. This was very difficult to predict. The Mermaid Emperor said, then you have to keep giving birth until you give birth. Keep giving birth. The Mermaid Princess was helpless to the extreme. Uncle. Get married. We will definitely get married. But now is not the time. Qin Feiyang sighed and looked at the Mermaid Emperor. The Mermaid Emperor was furious and roared, now is not the time. Then how long are you going to wait? Until I die? Uncle, calm down. Qin Feiyang hurriedly comforted and sighed, you don't know. After you returned to the Sea of Despair, many things happened. What things? The Mermaid Emperor frowned. First of all, the demon ancestor and Mu Tianyang didn't die. Secondly, my eldest cousin and my inner demon both died tragically in the miraculous sight in order to save me. As a man, I can't forget their deaths. Qin Feiyang said. This, the Mermaid Emperor and the Black Wing Emperor looked at each other. I know that this is selfish, but I am such a person. If I don't find out the cause of death of my big cousin and my inner demons and avenge them, I can't be at ease. So, I hope Uncle can understand. Qin Feiyang got up and bowed. The Mermaid Emperor pondered for a moment and asked, what about my daughter? Father, I am willing to wait. Moreover, we have already agreed that no matter where we go in the future, we will be together and never leave each other. The Mermaid Princess also got up and grabbed Qin Feiyang's strong hand. She looked at the Mermaid Emperor and smiled. You silly girl. The Mermaid Emperor sighed and waved his hand. Forget it, forget it. The children and grandchildren will have their own blessings. You can do as you see fit. The two looked at each other and smiled. They bowed and said, thank you, Father. Thank you, Uncle. All right, sit down. The Mermaid Emperor waved his hand. The two returned to their seats. The Mermaid Emperor looked at Qin Feiyang and said, Kid, although I don't care anymore, you have to listen carefully. Don't bully my daughter in the future, and don't let her suffer any grievances. Of course. Qin Feiyang nodded and smiled. The Black Wing Emperor and the Black Wing Emperor looked at each other and couldn't help but feel disappointed. If they didn't get married and have children, then everything was just empty talk. Qin Feiyang glanced at the Black Wing Emperor and the Black Wing Emperor. He had seen countless people over the years and could tell what they were thinking at a glance. After pondering for a while, he looked up at the Mermaid Emperor and smiled. "Uncle, apart from visiting you, there is actually another matter." "What is it?" The Mermaid Emperor was suspicious. Qin Feiyang said, "I wonder if Uncle has any thoughts of leaving the Sea of Despair?" "Leave the Sea of Despair?" The Mermaid Emperor was stunned. The Black Wing Emperor and the White Wing Emperor also looked at Qin Feiyang in confusion. Whether it's humans, beasts, or mermaids, they should all be treated equally. And for the past 10,000 years, your mermaid race has been living in a corner. It's really unfair for you. So I was thinking, can the mermaid race walk out of the Sea of Despair and try to get in touch with humans? Live together? Qin Feiyang said. The Mermaid Emperor hesitated. The Black Wing Emperor and the White Wing Emperor's faces were full of joy. Qin Feiyang looked at the two and smiled. "It seems that the two of you agree with my suggestion. To be honest, Mr. Qin, we have long been tired of staying in the Sea of Despair. But you also know that the humans outside have always held strange gazes towards us merfolk." The two sighed. "That's right. In the eyes of humans, we mermaids are different. At that time, if we really enter the human world, I'm afraid that we will be coveted by evil people." The Mermaid Emperor said. "For example?" Qin Feiyang asked. The Mermaid Emperor said, "For example, capturing mermaids and treating them as pets, servants, and toys. After all, in the past, such things have happened before." Qin Feiyang smiled. "If Uncle is only worried about this, then it's easy to solve." The Mermaid Emperor said, "How?" Qin Feiyang said, "As long as His Majesty gives the order, no one will dare to do anything to you. If that's the case, then there's indeed no need to worry about the future." "But will the Emperor agree?" The Mermaid Emperor said. "With me as his son, if I personally ask him for help, of course he will agree." Qin Feiyang smiled, took out the image crystal, and sent a message to Zhao Tai. Soon, Zhao Tai's illusory figure appeared and said with a mocking smile, "Young master, are you asking us for help? It seems that your father-in-law is not easy to deal with. You wait, I'll immediately lead a large force to support you." Hearing this, the Mermaid Emperor, who was sitting on the throne, couldn't help but twitch the corner of his mouth. "What are you talking about?" Qin Feiyang glared at Zhao Tai and asked, "Is father still there?" "Yes. But everyone is ready to leave," Zhao Tai said. Qin Feiyang said, "Call father over immediately. I have something to discuss." "Okay." Zhao Tai nodded, turned his head, and shouted, "Young master's father, young master is looking for you. Come over quickly." "Young master's father?" Qin Feiyang was taken aback. He looked at Zhao Tai and said, "That's too awkward." Zhao Tai smiled and said, "It's just a name. Don't mind it. You've really changed. You're so glib." Qin Feiyang shook his head helplessly. "Huh," Zhao Tai laughed dryly and shouted, "Young master's father-in-law, I know you're right next to me. Let me tell you, don't bully my young master. Otherwise, our large force will kill our way to your Sea of Despair. There's no need for a large force. I can flatten the Sea of Despair with a wave of my hand, so you'd better be sensible and quickly hand your daughter over to the young master. And give her some dowry while you're at it. Our young master is very poor. He got rich all thanks to you, his father-in-law." Tang Hai appeared beside Zhao Tai without a word and said expressionlessly. The Mermaid Emperor's face was dark. Qin Feiyang's veins were also bulging. These two bastards, were they deliberately making trouble? What did he mean by getting rich all because of his father-in-law? Was he that poor? Zhao Tai, Tang Hai, I won't allow you to scare my in-laws like this. The emperor walked over and said with a smile. Hee hee. Zhao Tai Lai grinned and stepped aside. The emperor looked at Qin Feiyang and said with a smile, Feiyang, let me meet my in-laws. Okay. Qin Feiyang nodded. The image crystal turned and faced the mermaid emperor. Chapter 1896. Greetings, Your Majesty. The mermaid emperor hurriedly got up and bowed. We're all family. Don't be so polite. The emperor said. I'm ashamed. The mermaid emperor shook his head. The emperor said, Are you still blaming yourself for the 5 mermaid ancestors? The mermaid emperor nodded. The emperor smiled and said, It's not your fault. After all, you can't control them. Thank you for your understanding, Your Majesty. The mermaid emperor said gratefully. Don't call me Your Majesty. It's so distant. We're in-laws, so we have to be like a family. The emperor said unhappily. Yes, yes, yes. The mermaid emperor nodded repeatedly. How is it? Did you persuade Feiyang and the others? The emperor asked. I did. Unfortunately, your son is stubborn. No matter how I persuade him, it's useless. The mermaid emperor said. Yes. I can't wait for them to get married now and give me a bunch of grandchildren or something. The emperor said helplessly. Don't I think so too? The mermaid emperor also looked helpless. Father, uncle, we're here to talk business. Why are you talking about this? Qin Feiyang looked at the two speechlessly. The emperor looked at the mermaid emperor and said, See, he only said a few words and you're already unhappy. Do you think it's easy for parents like us? Isn't that so? It's not easy to look forward to them growing up, but they're all grown up. They don't take our words seriously anymore. The mermaid emperor shook his head. Seeing the two of them echoing each other, Qin Feiyang was quite annoyed and said, You guys continue. I'll go out for a walk. We'll talk when you're done. Ha! The emperor and the mermaid emperor looked at each other and couldn't help but laugh. The emperor said, Okay, let's stop talking. Tell me, what's the matter? Qin Feiyang rolled his eyes and simply told the emperor what he thought. So that's it. The emperor suddenly understood. After pondering for a while, he looked at the mermaid emperor and said, Although you and I are in-laws, as the emperor of a country, my words and actions are responsible for all the living beings on the continent. So, there are some things that we have to make clear in advance. Your Majesty, please speak. The mermaid emperor said. We allow you to leave the Sea of Despair and even allow you to enter the imperial capital. However, you must restrain your clansmen and behave yourselves. After all, you have a special relationship with Feiyang. If you don't control it, I'm afraid that some mere people will take advantage of this relationship with Feiyang and run amok. If you promise to keep it, I will immediately issue an edict as soon as I return to the imperial capital. Di Wang said. The mermaid emperor was pleasantly surprised and said, Thank you, Your Majesty. I promise to restrain everyone. That's what you said. At that time, if some merfolk act recklessly and I give the order to kill them, don't blame me. The emperor smiled. The mermaid emperor said, If there really is such a mermaid, Your Majesty doesn't need to give the order. I will personally go and kill them. That's good. The emperor nodded with a smile and asked, Feiyang, is there anything else? No more. Qin Feiyang shook his head. The emperor said, If that's the case, then I'll go and get busy. In-law, come to the imperial capital often in the future. Let's have a good gathering. My pleasure. The mermaid emperor smiled. Then I'll see you later. The emperor smiled, and the phantom gradually dissipated. That's great. Yes, it's been more than 10,000 years. Our mere people can finally walk out of the Sea of Despair. The Blackwing monarch and the emperor were overjoyed. The Mermaid Emperor was also filled with emotions. Qin Feiyang glanced at the Blackwing Monarch and the Emperor and said lightly, "Both of you, don't blame me for being rude. I believe in Uncle, but I really can't rest assured about the two of you." The expressions of the two changed slightly. Qin Feiyang said, "Don't be nervous. I'm just giving you a reminder. People don't have many years in their life. Don't dig your own grave." "Yes, yes, yes. We will remember." The two of them nodded their heads submissively. "It's good that you remember." Qin Feiyang smiled, looked at the mermaid princess, and said, "It's over. Shall we go for a walk?" I want to accompany father." The mermaid princess said. The mermaid emperor smiled and said, "Little girl, go accompany Feiyang. Father still has many things to discuss with the Blackwing Monarch and the others." The mermaid princess was stunned, and said with a smile, "Father is the best. Then we'll go?" "Go, go." The mermaid emperor waved his hand. "Let's go." The mermaid princess pulled Qin Feiyang and ran out happily. A grown girl can't be kept at home. It's true. Looking at the back of the mermaid princess, the mermaid emperor sighed helplessly. "Emperor. You should feel lucky. If it weren't for the relationship between the princess and Qin Feiyang, our mere people would probably never have a day of success." The Blackwing Monarch and the Emperor said. "I don't agree with that. The little girl really likes Qin Feiyang. She's not using Qin Feiyang." The Mermaid Emperor frowned. Yes. We're just making an analogy." The two hurriedly said. The Mermaid Emperor looked at the two and said, "Let's talk. How should we develop in the future? Of course, we'll move to the imperial capital. After all, the imperial capital is the core of the great Qin Empire. Only by moving to the imperial capital can we develop better." The two said without hesitation. The Mermaid Emperor frowned and said, "Is that what you think? Are we wrong?" The two were puzzled. Although the imperial capital is the core of the great Qin Empire, it's also a gathering place for power and disputes. Moving to the imperial capital isn't a wise move. The Mermaid Emperor said. The Blackwing Monarch said, "You're right, but with the relationship with Qin Feiyang, what are we afraid of? No one dares to touch us." The Mermaid Emperor raised his eyebrows and said, "Didn't you understand the Emperor's words? He doesn't want us to use this relationship recklessly. We're not using it recklessly. We just want to use the name of Qin Feiyang to have a place in the imperial capital." The Blackwing Monarch said unhappily. "Okay. Even if we move to the imperial capital as you said, what about the land of inheritance? You have to know that the rise and fall of the mermaid race depends on this land of inheritance." The Mermaid Emperor said. The Blackwing Monarch was speechless for a moment and turned to look at the White-Wing Monarch. The White-Wing Monarch pondered for a moment and looked at the Mermaid Emperor. "Why don't we ask Qin Feiyang to help us move the land of inheritance to the imperial capital?" The Mermaid Emperor said, "So, no matter what, you all want to go to the imperial capital? After all, the imperial capital is a symbol of identity and status." "Of course. We're just suggesting. The final decision is still yours." The White-Wing Monarch looked at the Mermaid Emperor and smiled. The Mermaid Emperor glanced at the two and pondered for a moment before saying, "This is what I think. Our people live in the spiritual state, and the Sea of Despair is our base camp." When the two heard this, their faces were filled with helplessness. "Of course, I won't restrict your freedom. You can go to the imperial capital at any time, but the condition is that you must abide by the rules. And for the survival of our people, I will also take time to meet the Emperor and see if I can be the mansion master of the spiritual state." The Mermaid Emperor said. The Blackwing Monarch looked at each other and nodded with a smile. "This is a good idea. If you become the mansion master of the spiritual state, it will be of great help to the future development of our mermaid race." "So it's decided?" the Mermaid Emperor asked. "Okay, it's decided. The two nodded. Greetings, Princess. Greetings, Mr. Qin. Back to Qin Feiyang and the Mermaid Princess. The two walked on the street hand in hand, and all the mermaids they met bowed respectfully. The Mermaid Princess also responded to them one by one. This place is still the best. There are no restrictions or worries at all. The Mermaid Princess smiled. Really? Qin Feiyang asked with a smile. The Mermaid Princess was taken aback. Qin Feiyang teased, I remember when you first came here, you and your father were in a very bad situation. The Mermaid Princess smiled helplessly and held Qin Feiyang's arm. Yes, it's all thanks to you. I thank you. Qin Feiyang chuckled. What's the use of just saying thanks? Let's do something practical. What do you mean? The Mermaid Princess was suspicious. Here, Qin Feiyang pointed at his face. The Mermaid Princess blushed and whispered, the streets are full of our people, insincere. Qin Feiyang pursed his lips. The Mermaid Princess looked around, summoned her courage, and lightly touched Qin Feiyang's face. Princess, don't treat us as air. Yeah, if you want to be intimate, shouldn't you find a place where there's no one around? The mermaids around immediately laughed. The Mermaid Princess's cheeks were boiling hot, and she fiercely pinched Qin Feiyang's arm, and said, Smelly hooligan, are you satisfied now? Qin Feiyang grinned. But suddenly, he stopped and looked at the square in front of him on the left. There were 4 statues there. It was the holy land of the mermaid clan, the land of inheritance. Looking at the majestic statues of his ancestors, the memories that had been sealed in Qin Feiyang's mind uncontrollably emerged. It was here that he had activated the purple gold dragon soul. It was also here that he and the Mermaid Princess were tied together by the concentric knot. It could be said that this was the place that changed his fate. The Mermaid Princess followed Qin Feiyang's gaze, and a look of reminiscence appeared in her eyes. She smiled and said, let's go and pay our respects. Qin Feiyang nodded. The two of them walked over in large strides. Greetings, Princess, young Master Qin. The white-winged guard and the black-winged guard, who were guarding the Holy Land, hurriedly bowed when they saw the two of them. The Mermaid Princess nodded. The two of them walked to the square. Qin Feiyang stood under the statue of the Qin Emperor, looked up at the face of the statue, and muttered, if it weren't for you, I wouldn't have everything I have now. Thank you, I will definitely catch up with your footsteps. After saying that, he bowed deeply to the statue. At the same time, the Mermaid Princess muttered a few words to the statue of the first Mermaid Emperor and also bowed. Buzz. However, right after this bow, 2 golden divine lights suddenly shot out from the forehead of the first Mermaid Emperor and entered the hearts of Qin Feiyang and the Mermaid Princess. What's going on? The surrounding white-winged guard and black-winged guard were all alarmed and looked at the statue in surprise. Qin Feiyang and the Mermaid Princess were also stunned. Immediately after, the two of them seemed to have sensed something and lowered their heads at the same time to look at their hearts. They saw a dazzling light shining through their clothes from their hearts. Qin Feiyang pulled open their clothes and looked, and his face was immediately stunned. It was actually the concentric knot. Chapter 1897. Back in the Sea of Reincarnation, when the Mermaid Princess was killed by Blood Blade, it was Shui Song who sacrificed his life to save her at the critical moment. At that time, the concentric knot had already been broken. But unexpectedly, the concentric knot appeared again, and it was intact. The Mermaid Princess slightly pulled open her clothes and saw a complete concentric knot on her chest. The two of them looked at each other in dismay, their expressions incomparably astonished. After a long time, Qin Feiyang raised his head to look at the statue and said helplessly, you insist on tying us together. This is not bad. Lest you go outside and flirt with other women. The Mermaid Princess harumphed. Qin Feiyang smiled bitterly. If the concentric knot appeared again, wouldn't Shui Song's sacrifice be in vain? How was he going to repay this great kindness? What's wrong with you? Are you thinking of Shui Song? The mermaid princess looked at him suspiciously. She had heard about Shui Song's situation from Zhao Tailai and the others. It's nothing. Qin Feiyang shook his head, looked at the sky above the undersea city, and muttered, I can't repay your kindness. I can only try my best to fulfill your last wishes. I hope that your souls in heaven can rest in peace. After saying that, he lowered his head and bowed deeply to the void. Those white-winged guards and black-winged guards all looked at Qin Feiyang with baffled expressions. Let's go. Qin Feiyang pulled the mermaid princess and turned around to leave without looking back. Actually, the concentric knot can be removed, as long as we combine, the mermaid princess whispered, her face flushed red. Yeah. Back then, your father seemed to have said, why don't we? Qin Feiyang patted his head, lowered his head to look at the mermaid princess, and said. You, feeling Qin Feiyang's fiery gaze, the mermaid princess was extremely flustered. I was joking, you took it seriously? It seems that you are also a female rogue. Qin Feiyang teased. What did you say? Say it again. The mermaid princess was stunned for a moment. Then, she glared at Qin Feiyang angrily. Qin Feiyang lifted the mermaid princess' chin and said with an evil smile, little girl, I'm a pure man, don't tempt me, bastard. The mermaid princess immediately raised her fist and punched at Qin Feiyang. Qin Feiyang chuckled, turned around, and disappeared in a flash. Hooligan, stop right there. The mermaid princess gritted her teeth and chased after him. In the blink of an eye. Half a month passed. During this half a month, Qin Feiyang didn't think about anything else. He focused on accompanying the mermaid princess. They were like an immortal couple, leaving their footprints on the bottom of the Sea of Despair. The imperial edict had also been issued. Without a doubt. The appearance of the mermaid clan, whether it was in the imperial capital or in the 9 states, set off a huge storm. Because the existence of the mermaid clan had always been an ethereal legend. However, they didn't expect that there really was such a clan in the world. Over the past few days, countless people had come to the Sea of Despair with curiosity. But no one dared to enter the sea. Because when the imperial edict was issued, he also issued another order. No one, no beast, was allowed to enter the Sea of Despair. In other words, the emperor was protecting the mermaid clan. And the mermaid clan, under the leadership of the mermaid emperor, walked out of the Sea of Despair and tried to get along with humans. And a few days ago, the mermaid emperor also made a trip to the imperial capital. First, it was to meet with the emperor. Second, it was to discuss the matter of the spiritual state mansion master. When the emperor heard this, he gave it some thought and agreed that the mermaid emperor would be the spiritual state mansion master. In short, the current Great Qin had slowly calmed down. And although the evil deeds of the demon ancestor Mu Tianyang were often talked about, not many people were afraid. Because the Great Qin had a guardian. And this guardian was Qin Feiyang. Similarly, after the emperor's clarification, those who used to hate Qin Feiyang also blamed themselves for their stupidity in the past. Others wholeheartedly protected the Great Qin, but what about them? They only knew how to hate and abuse. Just thinking about it made them feel ridiculous. Of course, Qin Feiyang wasn't there for all of this. He just wanted to have a clear conscience and be at ease. On a small island in the Sea of Despair, Qin Feiyang lay on the grass and looked at the clear sky. The mermaid princess was nestled in his embrace, her slender jade-like fingers sliding across Qin Feiyang's chest. Her eyelashes were trembling, and her peerless face was filled with a happy and satisfied smile. Little girl, I'm still a man full of vigor and vitality. You're touching my chest like this. Aren't you teasing me and tempting me to commit a crime? Qin Feiyang grabbed the mermaid princess's hand and said helplessly. I am tempting you to commit a crime. The mermaid princess's voice was like a mosquito. Qin Feiyang was stunned. He lowered his head to look at the mermaid princess and saw that the mermaid princess was looking at him with a pair of rippling eyes. This little girl, is there a problem? Qin Feiyang was puzzled. He raised his hand and touched the mermaid princess's forehead. His expression suddenly changed as he said in shock, "Oh no, she actually has a fever." Fever? The mermaid princess was stunned, and a row of black lines appeared on her forehead. She was now a false god, so how could she have a fever? Are you okay? Did you catch a cold? Qin Feiyang looked at her with concern. Blockhead. The mermaid princess was really speechless. How could there be such a stupid man in the world? She pressed Qin Feiyang down, turned over, and lay on Qin Feiyang's body, saying, "You bastard, you want me to take the initiative, right?" Hee hee. Qin Feiyang grinned and held the mermaid princess's face with both hands, saying, "Little girl, do you really think I'm that stupid?" The mermaid princess was extremely embarrassed and angry. Qin Feiyang rolled over and immediately pressed the mermaid princess under his body. He said with an evil smile, "Little girl, since you can't wait, I'll fulfill your wish." After that, he lowered his head and kissed her. Buzz. But at this time, the image crystal suddenly rang. "Damn it, who is it now?" Qin Feiyang suddenly roared angrily. "Don't worry about him." The mermaid princess hugged Qin Feiyang's neck with both hands, her body burning. Qin Feiyang was stunned and shook his head. No, what if there is something urgent?" After that, he got up and took out the image crystal. Two shadows appeared. Mother? Father? Elder Qin? Qin Feiyang looked at the three of them in a daze. That's right. It was Lu Qiuyu, the emperor, and Elder Qin who sent him the message. Greetings to Auntie and Senior Qin. Seeing this, the mermaid princess hurriedly got up, tidied up her messy dress, and bowed to the three of them. Looking at Qin Feiyang and the mermaid princess at this moment, Lu Qiuyu and the emperor looked at each other with a strange expression. As experienced people, they could tell at a glance what the two of them were doing before. Lu Qiuyu coughed and said with a smile, "Feiyang, girl, did we ruin your good thing?" The mermaid princess immediately lowered her head and hid behind Qin Feiyang, blushing. The emperor smiled and said, "Why don't we wait until you are done and then send the message?" Qin Feiyang looked at his parents helplessly and said, "What's the matter? Say it. You have a lot of resentment. It seems that our message is really not at the right time." Lu Qiuyu looked at the emperor and said, "Yes. We are too reckless. We should have thought of it. When two young people are together, they will definitely do something young." The emperor said. Elder Qin looked at the emperor and Lu Qiuyu, and then looked at Qin Feiyang and the mermaid princess. He hid in a corner and laughed. However, he was more gratified in his heart. This was more like a family. Qin Feiyang turned to look at the shy mermaid princess and said helplessly, "Mother, father, don't make fun of us anymore. Tell me, what's the matter?" The emperor said, "Madam, look, it has only been half a month and he is already protecting that little girl. Our son has really grown up." Lu Qiuyu nodded and said with a smile, "Yes, it is good to be young. Are you guys done yet? Aren't you very young now? You can do something young when you have nothing to do. Maybe I will have a few more brothers and sisters in the future." Qin Feiyang said angrily. The emperor and Elder Qin were stunned. When they came to, Lu Qiuyu's face was also red. Seeing this, the emperor's face suddenly darkened. He glared at Qin Feiyang and said, "Brat, what did you say? Are you making fun of your parents?" "I am telling the truth. Look at you, young and strong. Look at your mother, young and beautiful. You can have a few more children." Qin Feiyang joked. "The more you talk, the more ridiculous you are." The emperor rolled his eyes at Qin Feiyang and said, "We are sending you a message because we want to tell you a piece of good news." Good news? Qin Feiyang was stunned. The emperor said, Lu Zheng and Lu Hong will be married tomorrow. Married? Qin Feiyang looked shocked. The mermaid princess was also stunned. She did not come to her senses for a long time. This is the decision of your 4 grandfathers. They said that Lu Jiajin is dead, and now Lu Zheng is the only one left, so they have to hurry up and continue the family line. Of course, they did not force Lu Hong. Lu Hong is willing to marry. The emperor said. That's too fast. Besides, although eldest cousin is dead, there are other descendants in the Lu family besides Lu Zheng. Isn't it a bit too much to ask Lu Zheng to continue the family line? Qin Feiyang said. The Lu family does have many disciples, but your uncle's branch only consists of the 2 brothers, Lu Jiajin and Lu Zheng. You don't know about your uncle and aunt's deaths, do you? Back then, they were all killed by the ancestor devil because they were protecting us. Furthermore, they were all shattered into pieces. The emperor sighed. Qin Feiyang's eyes trembled. He had never heard of this before. Lu Qiuyu said, although there was the castle and pale snow back then, they only protected you and not us. Your uncle and the others only said a few words to the demonic ancestor before they were killed. As for why we didn't tell you this, it was because we didn't want you to blame yourself. After all, we know your personality too well. Yes. So, we also approve of Lu Zheng and Lu Hong's marriage. But this time, it's not just the 2 of them who are getting married. The emperor smiled. Who else? Qin Feiyang was stunned and asked. You'll know when you come back. The emperor smiled mysteriously. Qin Feiyang shook his head. Still keeping him in suspense? He said, okay, I'll go back later. I'll also go to the Forgotten Continent to take a look. Your great-grandmother came to the imperial capital a few days ago and asked you not to forget what you promised her. The emperor said. What I promised her? Qin Feiyang was suspicious. The emperor frowned and said, it seems to be related to someone called Hao. Young Master Hao? Qin Feiyang said. Yes, it's him. The emperor nodded. I see. Qin Feiyang exhaled and turned off the image crystal. He shook his head helplessly and said, this great-grandmother is really determined to make me be the villain. What villain? Mermaid Princess was suspicious. Qin Feiyang said with a smile, we'll talk about it on the way. Let's go find your father first. It's time to leave. Mermaid Princess nodded. Qin Feiyang took the Mermaid Princess and teleported, disappearing in an instant. Chapter 1898. What? You're leaving? Undersea City. The Mermaid Emperor looked at Qin Feiyang and the Mermaid Princess with a frown. The Mermaid Princess' expression was also filled with reluctance. Qin Feiyang smiled and said, it's not like we're parting forever. There's still a long way to go. That's true. The Mermaid Emperor smiled and said, not long ago, I received a message from your father asking me to attend a wedding. It seems to be related to the Lu family. You were invited too? The Mermaid Princess was surprised. Yes. The Mermaid Emperor nodded. The Mermaid Princess said happily, then we can go together. Together? The Mermaid Emperor was stunned for a moment before he realized, so you're going to attend the wedding too? But at my age, I don't want to be a third wheel. Father, what are you talking about? The Mermaid Princess said angrily. Okay. You guys go first. I still have to prepare some gifts. After all, there are 3 couples getting married. Besides, this is the first time I'm going to show my face in the imperial capital. The gift must be decent, so as not to embarrass our mermaid race. The Mermaid Emperor smiled. What? 3 couples? Qin Feiyang and the Mermaid Princess looked at each other. You still don't know? The Mermaid Emperor was a little surprised. Qin Feiyang shook his head. The Mermaid Emperor thought for a moment and smiled. It seems that they deliberately hid it from you and wanted to give you a surprise. The Mermaid Princess asked curiously, Father, then tell us, apart from Lu Zheng and Lu Hong, who are the other two couples? Since they don't want to say, then I certainly can't ruin their mood, right? The Mermaid Emperor smiled. The Mermaid Princess was helpless. Qin Feiyang said, Uncle, on our way back, we heard some sea monsters talking about you. Are you already the mansion master of our spiritual state? Yes. But your father hasn't officially issued the appointment letter yet, so I can't stay in the capital. The Mermaid Emperor said. I see. Qin Feiyang nodded in understanding. The Mermaid Emperor waved his hand and said, Don't be so long-winded. Go. Then we'll be leaving first. Qin Feiyang smiled and pulled the Mermaid Princess out of the sea, flying towards the desert of death. This isn't the right direction. The Mermaid Princess was suspicious. Qin Feiyang said, Old Zhao and the others should still be waiting for me in Iron Ox Town. I'll go and meet them first. When he arrived above the lake, Qin Feiyang was stunned. There was not a single person here. The Mermaid Princess smiled and said, It seems that they have already gone to the capital. These guys, they didn't even say a word before leaving. Qin Feiyang said helplessly. The Mermaid Princess said, It's not easy for you to be free. They definitely don't want to disturb you. Qin Feiyang glanced down, his eyes filled with nostalgia. Once he left, he was afraid that he would never come back. He had a deep affection for this place. The sense of belonging that it gave him was even incomparable to the imperial palace. He was really reluctant to part with it. The Mermaid Princess said, People have to go up and look forward. Let bygones be bygones. Qin Feiyang nodded and said with a smile, Let's go. However, just as he was about to turn around, he suddenly looked at a mountain stream below. There was a river in the mountain stream. At this moment, a woman in white stood alone on the riverbank, looking at the slowly flowing river, motionless. What are you looking at? The Mermaid Princess followed Qin Feiyang's gaze, and a hint of joy immediately appeared on her face. She quickly flew down and called, Yi. That's right. The woman standing by the river was Lin Yi. When Lin Yi heard the Mermaid Princess's voice, she retracted her gaze and turned to look at the Mermaid Princess. She looked slightly stunned and said suspiciously, Why are you still here? We are going to the imperial capital, the Mermaid Princess said with a smile, then grabbed Lin Yi's hand. Lin Yi retracted her hand with some resistance. The Mermaid Princess was taken aback and said anxiously, Yi, do you really not remember at all? We were like sisters in the Holy Palace. I don't remember anything except for the memory in the Sea of Reincarnation. Lin Yi shook her head. You were born in Iron Bull Town. You can ask the villagers of Iron Bull Town. They all know what happened to you when you were a child. It may be helpful for you to get these things. Qin Feiyang landed next to the Mermaid Princess and looked at Lin Yi with a smile. I have asked them. They told me everything about the past and what happened between us. But, I just can't remember anything. I have tried very hard, but these memories don't seem to exist at all. Lin Yi murmured. In the end, she couldn't help squatting on the ground, holding her head in pain. Her helpless look was distressing. Qin Feiyang stepped forward, squatted aside, and patted Lin Yi's shoulder gently. He smiled comfortingly, Take your time. Don't worry. Lin Yi immediately threw herself into Qin Feiyang's arms. She burst into tears and blamed herself, I'm sorry. I'm really sorry. You are so good to me. I actually hurt you and everyone. Qin Feiyang looked at the Mermaid Princess at a loss. Why are you looking at me? The Mermaid Princess rolled her eyes at him. In fact, she knew Lin Yi's mind best. Because in the Holy Palace, they were indeed like sisters. They talked about everything. But she also knew that Qin Feiyang had always regarded Lin Yi as a sister. So, there was nothing wrong with eating good food. Qin Feiyang smiled, patted Lin Yi's back, and said with a smile, "Silly girl, this is not your fault. Why are you blaming yourself? I almost killed you, don't you blame me?" Lin Yi raised her head and looked at Qin Feiyang with tears in her eyes. "I have never blamed you. In the past, you were my sister, and you will be in the future. This will never change." Qin Feiyang stretched out his hand, wiped the tears off Lin Yi's face, and smiled. Lin Yi looked at Qin Feiyang in a daze. After a long time, she lowered her head and said, "Thank you for your forgiveness, but this still can't erase the fact that I am a sinner." She gently pushed Qin Feiyang away, got up, looked at the mermaid princess, and smiled, cherished this rare happiness. After that, Lin Yi turned around. Her thin back looked a little lonely and sad. The mermaid princess hurriedly said, "Where are you going? Come with us. We will help you recover your memory. I want to atone for my sins. Thank you for not abandoning me. When I can forgive myself one day, I will come to you. Finally, I wish you happiness." After Lin Yi finished, she left without looking back. The mermaid princess said anxiously, "Feiyang, why didn't you stop her? Is it useful to stop her? Don't be fooled by her weak appearance now. In fact, she is very strong. She will not be defeated so easily." Qin Feiyang smiled. The mermaid princess was silent. When Lin Yi disappeared in the mountain stream, Qin Feiyang retracted his gaze, hugged the mermaid princess's slender waist, and smiled. "What are you thinking about? Why are you so lost in thought?" The mermaid princess hesitated for a while, looked at Qin Feiyang, and said, "In fact, if you accept Lin Yi, I will not object." Ugh! Qin Feiyang was stunned. "Really? I like you, but it doesn't mean that I want to monopolize you," the mermaid princess said seriously. Qin Feiyang said, "So, you allow me to have 3 wives and 4 concubines? Not allowed. It can only be..." Wait. Did I say that? Or, did you have this idea long ago? The mermaid princess looked at him unkindly. No. Qin Feiyang waved his hand quickly. The mermaid princess snorted coldly, "You better not, otherwise what?" Qin Feiyang laughed mischievously. Otherwise, I will castrate you." After speaking, the mermaid princess's face was flushed. "Huh," Qin Feiyang laughed and hooked the mermaid princess's nose. He shook his head and said, "I am not a greedy man. I am satisfied with you by my side. As for Yi, like I said before, whether it is in the past or in the future, she will always be my sister. So, if you want to castrate me, you will not have the chance. Besides, if you really castrate me, won't you be a living widow?" Qin Feiyang smiled slyly. "A living widow? Is that possible? There are plenty of men in the world." The mermaid princess snorted. "What do you mean?" Qin Feiyang was stunned and frowned. "You are still thinking about other men? Tell me, who is it? I will cut him into pieces." The mermaid princess laughed. "Let's be serious. There is a woman, I really feel sorry for her," Qin Feiyang said. "Who?" The mermaid princess looked at Qin Feiyang suspiciously. "Wang Yuer. I don't want to lie to you. When we were at the miracle, I was already prepared to accept her. However, things are unpredictable. Later on, some things happened that complicated our relationship." Qin Feiyang sighed. "You can do as you see fit. If you really like her, I won't object. But there is a condition. In your heart, I must be the most important." The mermaid princess was silent for a long time and said, "Silly woman." Qin Feiyang shook his head. Wasn't she afraid that she would spoil him too much by letting him do whatever he wanted? Spiritual state. Butterfly Valley. Qin Feiyang entered the secret room and looked at the altar with a thoughtful look. The mermaid princess asked, Are you thinking about whether to go to the Forgotten Continent first or the Imperial Capital first? Qin Feiyang nodded. To be honest, he was really afraid to face Wang Yuer now. Aren't Lu Zheng and the others getting married tomorrow? Let's go to the Forgotten Continent first. The mermaid princess said. Okay. But you have to help me think, what gift should I give them? After all, Lu Hong has been through fire and water with me for so many years. She can't get married empty-handed. Qin Feiyang smiled and revived the altar as he spoke. You'd better make your own decision because I don't know Lu Hong well. I don't know what she needs. The mermaid princess pondered and said. You don't always let me make my own decisions. You'll really spoil me. Qin Feiyang gently knocked on the mermaid princess's forehead with a doting expression. Then, he took the little hand of his beloved woman and stepped onto the altar. Chapter 1899. Central Divine Kingdom, Main Pagoda. Compared to the celebration in the capital, the Pill Pagoda Square was in mourning. There was a mourning hall in the center of the square. There was a wooden coffin in the mourning hall, and a headless body was lying quietly in the coffin. Wang Su, Wang Yuer's parents, and Wang Yuer herself were kneeling in front of the coffin. There was unconcealable sadness between their eyebrows. Obviously. The headless body in the coffin was Wang Yuanshan. The mysterious lady Ni Shu were also there, standing silently by the side. But one could vaguely see that Yi Shu and the other two were looking at Wang Yuanshan in the coffin with a trace of displeasure. Whoosh! Suddenly, two figures landed in the sky above the square. Everyone looked up suspiciously, and their expressions suddenly froze. Then, Tan Tai Li and the other three went up to greet them with a smile. But at the same time, Wang Su and Wang Yuer's parents also had a trace of anger in their eyes. Because the people who came were Qin Feiyang and the mermaid princess. What's going on? Looking at the mourning hall in the square, Qin Feiyang and the mermaid princess were a little stunned. Tan Tai Li sighed. You came at the wrong time. Qin Feiyang looked at the body in the coffin and asked, Is this Wang Yuanshan's funeral? Yes. Tan Tai Li nodded. Miss, I don't mean to criticize you. People like Wang Yuanshan should just find a place to bury him. Why did you let Wang Su make such a big fuss? Isn't this a disgrace to our main pagoda? Yi Shu and the other two immediately transmitted their voices in dissatisfaction. Wang Su is a founding member of our main pagoda after all. He begged again and again to hold a funeral for his old father. If I don't agree, won't I be too unreasonable? Besides, no one except us knows what Wang Yuanshan did in the miracle site, so it's not a disgrace. Tan Tai Li secretly said. But I just don't like it. Yi Shu snorted. Okay, the dead are more important. Don't say so much. Tan Tai Li glared at him and then looked at Qin Feiyang with a smile. Why did you suddenly come here? It's all because of the trouble you've caused me. Qin Feiyang sighed helplessly. What is it? You're already upset? Tan Tai Li said. I wouldn't dare. Qin Feiyang felt helpless. Suddenly, the mermaid princess flew down. Qin Feiyang hurriedly asked, Where are you going? Since I'm here, I naturally have to pay my respects. The mermaid princess smiled and landed on the square. Silly woman. Qin Feiyang shook his head. Wang Yuanshan died in his hands, and Wang Su hated him to the bone. So in this kind of situation, it was best to turn a blind eye. But this woman actually took the initiative to go down and pay her respects. Wasn't this just asking for trouble? Tan Tai Li secretly laughed and said, She is a little silly, but it also shows that she is a kind child. You have to cherish her. I will. Qin Feiyang nodded with a smile and asked curiously, Where's Qin Rushwang? Why don't I see her? Tan Tai Li's face darkened and said angrily, Rushwang is a few generations higher than you. Is it appropriate for you to call her by her name? Then what should I call her? You can't call her great-grandmother. Qin Feiyang pursed his lips. Tan Tai Li helplessly stared at Qin Feiyang. Get out of my way. At this time, there was an angry roar from below. Qin Feiyang raised his eyelids and immediately looked down. He saw Wang Su standing in front of the mermaid princess, his eyes full of anger. But facing the angry Wang Su, the mermaid princess was not angry at all. She smiled and said, "Senior, I don't mean any harm. I just came to pay my respects to Senior Wang." Wang Su glanced at Qin Feiyang and looked at the mermaid princess. You don't need to be pretentious here. Get lost immediately. I didn't. I'm really sincere. The mermaid princess said. I'll say it again. Get lost. Wang Su shouted angrily. Wang Yuer got up and looked at Wang Su with dissatisfaction. Grandpa, she's a guest and she's sincere. How can you treat her like this? Bastard, how dare you speak for them? The enraged Wang Su swung his hand and ruthlessly slapped Wang Yuer's face. Wang Yuer touched her painful cheek and couldn't help crying out of grievance. Seeing Wang Yuer being slapped in public, Wang Yuer's parents on the side were silent. Let me tell you, if you dare to betray us again, I'll directly expel you from the family. Wang Su glared at Wang Yuer. After saying this, he turned to look at the mermaid princess and said, Why don't you get lost? Do you want to be slapped too? Try slapping her. Swish. Qin Feiyang took a step forward and landed in front of the mermaid princess. Things don't look good. Tan Tai Li whispered. Who cares? Wang Su has gone too far by scolding his own granddaughter in public. He should be taught a lesson. Yi Shu snorted. Below. Wang Su stared at Qin Feiyang, his eyes full of hatred. Wang Yuer saw that the situation was not good and hurriedly said, Qin Feiyang, don't provoke Grandpa anymore. Take her away. Am I the one provoking him, or is he the one provoking me? Also, the Pill Tower Square is a public place. Why should I leave? Qin Feiyang said expressionlessly. Wang Yuer was extremely anxious. Wang Yuer's father suddenly stood up and looked at Qin Feiyang. The Pill Tower Square is indeed a public place, but it's also the place of the main tower. You're not from the Forgotten Continent. We don't welcome you. Don't welcome me? You're just a peak master of the Saint Peak. How can you represent the main tower? Then I'd like to ask, what do you think of the 4 people above? Qin Feiyang pointed at Tan Tai Li and the other 3 as he looked at Wang Yuer's father. Wang Yuer's father's pupils shrank when he heard this. Not to mention Yi Shu and the other 2, just Tan Tai Li was Qin Feiyang's great-grandmother, a family. And now, the main tower was under Tan Tai Li's control. In other words, Qin Feiyang was equivalent to the main tower's young master. Wang Su was also enraged, roaring, Are you leaving or not? Leaving is fine. Qin Feiyang took a step back and pulled the mermaid princess' hand, looking at Wang Su. But you must apologize to her. Apologize? Haha, Wang Su laughed loudly. You killed my father and you want me to apologize to her? Then why don't you tell everyone the reason why I killed Wang Yuanshan? Too ashamed to say it? Fine, I'll help you. Wang Yuanshan is in the Black Tortoise world, Qin Feiyang said. Bastard, I'll kill you. Wang Su's expression changed when he heard that, and he threw a punch at Qin Feiyang. If everyone knew about Wang Yuanshan's deeds, he would definitely go down in history in infamy. Kill me? Qin Feiyang curled the corner of his mouth, and his divine power surged. Wang Su immediately felt a huge pressure shrouding him, and he immediately staggered and fell to the ground in a sorry state. Qin Feiyang, are you trying to make a scene in the morning hall? Wang Yuer's parents also roared angrily. You too, get down on the ground too. Qin Feiyang looked at the 2 of them, and his divine power roared. Their bodies trembled, and they immediately fell to the ground uncontrollably. Even Wang Su and the others can't resist at all. Is this Qin Feiyang's current strength? That's terrifying. He's practically a godlike existence. The surrounding people were all extremely shocked. Enough, enough, it's really enough. Qin Feiyang, I'm begging you, please leave. Wang Yuer cried. Qin Feiyang looked at Wang Yuer and sighed deeply. His divine power dissipated like a tide, and he pulled the mermaid princess and said, "Let's go." "Thank you. In the future, let's break up with each other." Wang Yuer closed her eyes and said painfully. Qin Feiyang looked at Wang Yuer again, and from her painful expression, he knew how uncomfortable she was in saying those words. However, this might be the best ending. I hope you can find a good home as soon as possible and live happily ever after. Qin Feiyang said silently, and then took the mermaid princess into the main pagoda step by step. The disciples of the main pagoda, including the elders, the heads of the sub-pagoda, and the peak masters, all stepped aside in horror and made a path for them. Mermaid princess turned to look at Wang Yuer and whispered, "Feiyang, did I cause you trouble? You only know now." Qin Feiyang looked at her helplessly. "I'm sorry." Mermaid princess lowered her head, her face full of self-blame. "Silly woman." Qin Feiyang shook his head. "Don't always say that I'm silly, okay? How am I silly?" Mermaid princess looked at him angrily. Okay, you're the smartest woman in the world, okay?" Qin Feiyang laughed. "You're not sincere at all." Mermaid princess pursed her lips, thought for a moment, and said, "Did you deliberately attack Wang Su and the others?" "What do you mean?" Qin Feiyang was stunned and looked at her suspiciously. Mermaid princess said, "The more you and Wang Su fought, the more uncomfortable Wang Yuer would feel. In the end, she could only choose to break up with you. So I'm that kind of person in your eyes." Qin Feiyang said disappointedly. "I guessed wrong." Mermaid princess was stunned. "Wrong. I attacked Wang Su because he hit Wang Yuer in public. I attacked Wang Yuer's parents because they turned a blind eye to Wang Yuer's grievances." Qin Feiyang said. Mermaid princess said in realization, "So you're defending Wang Yuer. Not only for her, but also for you. How dare they bully my woman, Qin Feiyang? Aren't they courting death?" Qin Feiyang said proudly. Mermaid princess was pleased to hear that. Then, she said, "But Wang Yuer is really pitiful. She likes you so much, but she had to break up with you because of Wang Su and her parents. This is fate playing tricks on people." Qin Feiyang sighed. If he didn't meet Wang Yuanshan, or if Wang Yuanshan was a straightforward person, the situation would be different now. Mermaid princess joked, "Look at you. You care about her quite a lot. Jealous." Qin Feiyang laughed mischievously. "Do I look like I'm jealous? I just sympathize with Wang Yuer," Mermaid princess said. Qin Feiyang turned to look at Wang Yuer and sighed in his heart. Then, he disappeared from the main tower with Mermaid princess. Chapter 1900. Deep inside the tower, in a courtyard. A purple-clothed young man, holding a wine jar in his hand, was sitting in a pavilion in the courtyard. This person was young Master Hao. Compared to before, he looked extremely lonely now. His face was full of beard, his hair was messy, and his clothes were dirty. His whole body emitted a pungent smell of alcohol, and he was no longer as spirited as before. Whoosh! Qin Feiyang walked over step by step with the mermaid princess. They stood outside the courtyard and looked at young Master Hao. The mermaid princess asked in a low voice, "He is the son of the tower master?" "Yes." Looking at him, it seems that his father's death was a big blow to him. Qin Feiyang said. The mermaid princess said, "I heard from old Zhao that his father was sealed in the endless ocean. We know about this, but he definitely doesn't know. Maybe he doesn't even know what kind of person his father is." Qin Feiyang shook his head and sighed. He stepped into the courtyard and landed in front of young Master Hao. The mermaid princess stayed outside the courtyard. Young Master Hao sensed Qin Feiyang's aura. He raised his head and looked at him drunkenly, but he didn't say a word. He lowered his head again and took a big gulp from the wine jar. Then he looked at the void in front of him with dull eyes. As for Qin Feiyang, he was like air. Qin Feiyang said, "You drink all day. Is there any meaning in losing your mind?" Young Master Hao was stunned for a moment and murmured, "I am a trash." Then he took another big gulp from the wine jar. Qin Feiyang shook his head and said, "It's the first time I've seen someone admit that they are trash. Of course it's strange for you, because you used to be a monster recognized by both continents. Now, you are a god of war that countless people look up to. And I, in everyone's eyes, am just a rich playboy with status and background. My current cultivation is pitifully weak. So the gap between the two of us is like heaven and earth. You don't have to pity me. I, young Master Hao, can't accept it." Young Master Hao gave a self-mocking smile. Qin Feiyang's face was filled with disappointment as he said, "Although I came to the Forgotten Continent specifically to find you, I'm not in the mood to listen to your nonsense." "Looking for me? Then this little one is truly honored, Lord War God," young Master Hao said with a smile. Qin Feiyang ignored the sarcasm in his words and said, "How much do you know about your father?" "My father," young Master Hao murmured, shaking his head, "I don't know, and I don't want to know." Qin Feiyang said, "You must have thought of something. Otherwise, you wouldn't be avoiding this topic. I'm not interested in listening to your nonsense. If you have the heart, then drink with me. Otherwise, please leave," said young Master Hao. "Running away won't solve the problem. Back then, out of jealousy, your father colluded with the Mu family to harm senior sister. He was extremely vicious. Later, when he became the chief tower master, out of selfishness, he forced Gongsun Bei, and of course, me. I'm afraid you still don't know. Back then, he said he wanted us to go to Qinghai to train, but in fact, it was to get rid of me. It can be said that your father is the sinner of the Forgotten Continent," Qin Feiyang said. Don't say any more, young Master Hao shook his head. And this time, at the god's sight, your father still didn't change. He wanted to harm great-grandmother and Yi Shu to cover up his crimes back then, but he didn't know that the heavens were clear, and evil was intolerable. No matter how he tried to cover it up, the truth will surface one day, Qin Feiyang said. I told you to stop talking. Is there something wrong with your ears? Young Master Hao suddenly stood up, grabbed Qin Feiyang's clothes, and roared. Qin Feiyang said, I'm not telling you this to humiliate you, but to let you understand that you have to pay the price for doing wrong. Don't say any more, please, let me go. Young Master Hao's eyes trembled, and he collapsed at Qin Feiyang's feet, looking extremely helpless. The person who wants to let you go is not me, but yourself. Your father is a sinner, and you are the son of a sinner. I think you don't want to carry this identity forever. So please stand up and atone for the sins your father has committed. Qin Feiyang said. Why? This is his mistake. Why do you want me to help him atone for his sins? Young Master Hao roared. Because you are his child. Qin Feiyang said. In the past, I was the child of a hero. Now, I am the child of a sinner. How ironic. Young Master Hao laughed like a madman. No one has ever admitted that your father is a hero. However, there is one thing I can tell you. Your father is not dead. Qin Feiyang said. Not dead? Young Master Hao's body shook, and his drunkenness disappeared. The wine jar in his hand fell out and shattered into pieces. Qin Feiyang looked at young Master Hao's reaction, and his eyes flashed. He nodded and said, yes, he is sealed in the endless ocean. The endless ocean, young Master Hao murmured, looked up at Qin Feiyang, and said in a deep voice, why are you telling me? Qin Feiyang said, not only will I tell you, but I will also take you there. Take me there? Young Master Hao's mind was chaotic. What was this person trying to do? Mermaid Princess was also stunned. She transmitted her voice, Fei Yang, are you kidding? Moreover, the Chief Tower Master was sealed by Yuan Bo and the others. You don't know where he is. Qin Fei Yang smiled and said, for the current me, the endless ocean is not that big. I can find it with some time. Then why do you want to take young Master Hao there? Mermaid Princess was suspicious. You will understand later. Qin Fei Yang smiled and was about to open the portal, but he found that the Qiankuan bag was not on him. Where is my Qiankuan bag? He looked at Mermaid Princess. Mermaid Princess was stunned. After thinking for a moment, she said, it seems to be with Auntie. The inner demons asked her to take care of it. I see. Qin Fei Yang suddenly understood. Mermaid Princess asked, why do you want the Qiankuan bag? Are you stupid? We are going to the endless ocean. Of course, we need a portal. Qin Fei Yang rolled his eyes at her. Mermaid Princess smiled embarrassedly. Qin Fei Yang glanced at young Master Hao's waist. There was a ready-made Qiankuan bag hanging there. Qin Fei Yang waved his hand. The Qiankuan bag immediately flew into his hand. Then, his divine sense entered the Qiankuan bag and a smile appeared on his face. There were many portals in young Master Hao's Qiankuan bag. He took out a portal, pondered for a moment, and then quickly opened it. If you want to see your father, come with me. Qin Fei Yang pulled the Mermaid Princess and walked in with large strides. He didn't even turn his head as he spoke. Looking at Qin Fei Yang's back, young Master Hao's eyes flickered. In the end, he gritted his teeth and hurriedly followed in. After the portal disappeared, Tan Tai Li and the others appeared in the sky above the courtyard. Yi Shu was puzzled. He brought young Master Hao to the Chief Tower Master. What is this kid thinking? They had been hiding in the spatial divine item, so they heard the conversation between Qin Fei Yang and young Master Hao clearly. The mysterious madam smiled and said, Fei Yang must have a reason for doing this. Let's not bother about it. Get ready to go to the great Qin Empire for the wedding tomorrow. The mythical island. This was the first place Qin Fei Yang thought of. After so many years, the mythical island had not changed at all. The mountain was still the familiar mountain. The lake was still the familiar lake. Qin Fei Yang stood above the lake and scanned the surroundings. Finally, he looked down at the lake. Thinking back, when he and Qin Rushuang had completely fallen out with the Chief Tower, it was the Mermaid Emperor's murderous intent that saved them. What's down there? Why does it give me a very familiar and intimate feeling? Mermaid Princess suddenly said. Qin Fei Yang turned to look at Mermaid Princess. It seemed that this little girl had already sensed the Mermaid Emperor's murderous intent. Buzz! Just as Qin Fei Yang was about to explain, the lake water below surged, and rays of bright light surged out. Immediately after, a huge golden mermaid appeared above the lake. He is the first Mermaid Emperor. Mermaid Princess looked at the golden mermaid, her face full of astonishment. The first Mermaid Emperor looked kindly at Mermaid Princess and said emotionally, after waiting for so many years, finally, a mermaid with the power of my bloodline has come. Greetings, ancestor. Mermaid Princess hurriedly knelt in the void and said respectfully. Wait. Qin Fei Yang was stunned and said, Senior, you left this murderous intent behind to wait for the mermaid clan? However, the first Mermaid Emperor did not seem to hear anything. His eyes were still fixed on Mermaid Princess and said, My descendant, you are the luckiest person in the mermaid clan. Luckiest? Mermaid Princess was suspicious. What did this mean? Because the true inheritance of the mermaid clan is hidden in this murderous intent that I left behind. Since you are lucky enough to find me, I will give this inheritance to you. I hope you can understand this inheritance well and lead the mermaid clan to continue. The first Mermaid Emperor said, his voice full of great majesty. Inheritance? Qin Feiyang and Mermaid Princess looked at each other. Young Master Hao was also shocked. The true inheritance of the mermaid clan was hidden in this murderous intent? It was simply too unexpected. My descendant, you must remember, no matter what happens in the future, you must assist the Qin clan and protect the descendants of the Qin clan. Even if the great Qin is destroyed, you must always follow. This is the mission of the mermaid clan. The first mermaid emperor said again. His huge body suddenly collapsed and turned into a golden light, pouring into Mermaid Princess's forehead. Mermaid Princess closed her eyes at once. Her whole body was enveloped in a golden divine light, looking extremely peaceful. The mission of the mermaid clan, Qin Feiyang murmured with a complicated expression. He did not expect that in addition to the true inheritance of the mermaid clan, the first mermaid emperor also left behind such a message. Chapter 1901. This inheritance came too late. In fact, it was also his fault. If he was willing to bring the mermaid princess along, then the mermaid princess would have already obtained this inheritance. If she had obtained this inheritance, perhaps the mermaid 5 ancestors would not have rebelled. It was all fate's fault. However, there were many things that could not be predicted. Perhaps when the mermaid princess obtained the inheritance, the mermaid 5 ancestors would not restrain themselves. Instead, they would become even more aggressive and plot to murder the mermaid princess and snatch the inheritance. This was not impossible. About half an hour passed. Suddenly, the mermaid princess let out a muffled groan, and her face twisted. Qin Feiyang's pupils constricted, and a trace of worry appeared on his face. Immediately after, the mermaid princess roared in pain, and 9 pairs of golden wings suddenly appeared on her back. Qin Feiyang's eyes were dull. After the 9 pairs of wings appeared, the pain on the mermaid princess's face gradually dissipated. But her eyes were still closed. The 9 pairs of wings on her back flapped gently. Her dress fluttered in the wind, and her golden hair danced behind her. Her peerless face was suffused with a layer of hazy treasure light, as if an angel from the immortal world had descended. Boom! Suddenly, the aura in the mermaid princess's body surged out. And it continued to soar. In the end, it soared to the initial stage of the war god realm. This is the war god. Young Master Hao's body trembled, and his face was full of fear. Qin Feiyang's eyes revealed a hint of a smile. Not only did she obtain the inheritance, but she also raised her cultivation to the initial stage of the war god realm. For the mermaid princess, it was completely a good fortune. After a while, the mermaid princess's aura retracted into her body. Her eyelashes trembled, and then she slowly opened her eyes. Those gem-like eyes also carried a trace of a happy smile. Qin Feiyang stepped forward and asked, "What inheritance did you get?" The mermaid princess smiled slightly and cut her finger. "What are you doing?" Qin Feiyang's expression changed, and he hurriedly stopped her. But then, his expression froze. The blood that flowed out from the mermaid princess' fingertips was actually golden. "What's going on?" Qin Feiyang was bewildered. "Just like your purple gold dragon blood, this is the purest bloodline power of us golden mermaids. Also, the 9 pairs of wings on my back are also what we golden mermaids should have." The mermaid princess smiled. "I see." Qin Feiyang nodded and asked curiously, "Then, do the 9 pairs of wings and bloodline power bring any benefits to you?" "Of course. However, I'll keep it a secret for now." The mermaid princess smiled mysteriously. "Little girl, don't keep me in suspense." Qin Feiyang was speechless. "Furthermore, I have also obtained the mermaid clan's inherited divine arts, but I still need some time to comprehend them." The mermaid princess added. "Inherited divine arts? What level?" Qin Feiyang asked. The mermaid princess said, "High-tier divine arts." "Not bad, not bad." Qin Feiyang nodded and smiled. Not to mention high-tier divine arts, even the weakest low-tier divine arts were rare in the Great Qin and the Forgotten Continent. To be able to obtain this inheritance, the mermaid princess's strength had increased by dozens or even hundreds of times. Qin Feiyang chuckled and said, "Now that my wife has become so strong, please don't abuse me in the future." "Who is your wife?" The mermaid princess blushed and glared at him fiercely. Qin Feiyang laughed and bowed to the lake. "Thank you, senior." "Thank you, ancestor." The mermaid princess also lowered her head to look at the lake and bowed respectfully. War god, young Master Hao looked at the two of them and muttered to himself, his gaze gradually becoming fiery. This was the goal he should pursue. The mermaid princess glanced at young Master Hao and asked in a low voice, "Next stop, where are we going?" "Dragon Island." Qin Feiyang said. Since it was not sealed on the Divine Island, it was very likely to be on Dragon Island. Because Dragon Island was still outside the Qinghai and Inland Sea. Back then, facing the pursuit of the Mu family and the tower, he and Qin Rushwang escaped on Dragon Island. Young Master Hao clenched his hands and shook his head. "I'm not going." "Not going?" Qin Feiyang was stunned and asked suspiciously, "Why not? Don't you want to save him?" "Before this, I did want to save him. But when I saw the mermaid princess break through to War God, I suddenly woke up. This is not what I want at all. What's more, he is a sinner, he should pay the price for the mistakes he made." Young Master Hao said. Qin Feiyang's eyes flashed with a hint of a smile, but he frowned and said, "Are you serious? Don't say that I don't want to help you. In fact, I have already planned to help you save him." "Would you be so kind?" Young Master Hao sneered. Qin Feiyang said, "Of course I'm not so kind, but he is your father after all. I have to give you face." "I don't need this face. Father, I don't want to save him anymore. Because with the current me, I don't have the ability to save him at all. If he doesn't repent after I save him and continues to harm the tower and the Forgotten Continent, then I will really be a sinner for all eternity. So let him slowly repent in the endless sea." Young Master Hao said. Qin Feiyang said, "What you're saying is, wait until you have the ability to control him before saving him?" "That's right. When I have the ability, I won't be afraid of him coming out to cause trouble again. Because I will stop him. If I have no choice, I will even end his life with my own hands." Young Master Hao clenched his 10 fingers and said word by word. At this moment, he was no longer as dispirited as before, and his whole person was emitting a shocking sharpness. Qin Feiyang looked at him deeply and said with a smile, "I am really gratified that you have this kind of awareness, and I am also happy for the billions of living beings on the Forgotten Continent. Don't act so high and mighty. Sooner or later, I will catch up to you, and even surpass you." Young Master Hao coldly snorted and stretched out his hand. "Return the Cosmos bag to me." Qin Feiyang waved his hand and threw the Cosmos bag to young Master Hao. "Just you wait, I will let you know that I am not inferior to anyone." After young Master Hao finished speaking, he opened the portal and walked in without looking back. After the portal disappeared, Qin Feiyang shook his head and smiled. He turned to look at the mermaid princess and said, "I will take you to the Azure Sea for a walk." The mermaid princess nodded and asked, "You took young Master Hao to find the Tower Master to test him, right?" "Yes. If he really wanted to save the Tower Master, I would have killed him on the spot. But the result was very surprising. Before we even found the Tower Master, he came to his senses. Actually, it is also because of you. Seeing you break through to the War God level, he suddenly came to his senses." Qin Feiyang smiled and said. The mermaid princess giggled, "Then shouldn't you reward me?" Qin Feiyang was stunned. He immediately turned around and hugged the mermaid princess. He moved closer to her ear and said with a naughty smile, "Look, there is no one around. Shouldn't we continue what we didn't finish in the Sea of Despair?" "Damn pervert." The mermaid princess shyly lowered her head and scolded in a low voice. The next day, early in the morning. The imperial capital, the central square of the first district welcomed a festive scene. First, a large group of Kirin army appeared and surrounded the square. Every one of them was wearing battle armor and holding a halberd, looking majestic. Following them were a group of eunuchs and palace maids. They brought all kinds of things to decorate the square. They were very busy. What day is it today? Not only did the emperor's personal Kirin army come, but the eunuchs and palace maids also came out? From the decorations in the square, it seems like someone is getting married today. But who is it? Who is it? Could it be Prince Qin Feiyang? That is possible. I am so envious. I wonder which family's daughter is chosen by His Highness. His Highness is like the sun in the sky now. He will definitely be the emperor of the great Qin in the future. Even if the woman he chooses is from the most ordinary family, she will instantly soar into the sky and achieve meteoric success. The streets around the square were already filled with a sea of people. Everyone was discussing in low voices. Time passed in the blink of an eye. It was almost noon. The square was finally decorated. It was decorated with lanterns and colored banners. It was very beautiful. The ground was also covered with a layer of golden silk carpet. It was spotless. In front of the square, dozens of chairs were neatly placed. They were all made of the best Phoebe Jinan wood, showing a noble aura. Your Majesty, the Empress has arrived. Suddenly, a loud and clear voice sounded. Following closely, a middle-aged man in golden armor with a magnificent aura descended above the square. This person was the commander of the Kirin army. With the help of the Gate of Rebirth, he had also been reborn. Welcome, Your Majesty, the Empress. At the same time, the Kirin army, palace maids, eunuchs, and people on the surrounding streets all knelt down and kowtowed. The commander of the Kirin army also faced the imperial palace and half-knelt in the void. His expression was extremely respectful. Soon, a group of figures stepped on the air and arrived. The leaders were really the emperor and his wife. Next were Emperor Hong, Emperor Qin, the four grandfathers of the Lu family, Qin Yuan, Tan Taili, Yi Shu, the mermaid emperor, Zhao Tailai, and others. There were even Lu Ji, Jiang Jingyi and his wife, Old Man Ren and Ren Duxing, Wang Yangfeng, Yan Nanshan, Feng Qing, Uncle He, Zhao Shuang, Er's grandfather, Old Man Zhao, Lu Yun, and others. And there was also a particularly conspicuous old man, Li He. But at this moment, there was no distinction between monarch and minister. They were talking and laughing. It was very harmonious. Furthermore, all of them were dressed in jubilant attire. Rise! Everyone landed on the square. The emperor waved to the people around and smiled. Thank you, Your Majesty. The people said respectfully and got up one after another, looking curiously at Jiang Jingyi and the others. His Majesty turned to look at Old Man Ren and the others and said with a smile, "Everyone, please take a seat." Old Man Ren said, "Your Majesty, we are ministers after all. It's not appropriate to sit on the same level as Your Majesty. As I said, there is no distinction between monarch and minister today. Besides, everyone here has taken care of Feiyang. I can't thank you enough." The emperor said with a smile. Yes. Without you, there would be no Feiyang today. Lu Qiuyu nodded. If that's the case, Old Man Ren looked at Jiang Jingyi and the others, then looked at the emperor and said with a smile, "Then we will respectfully accept." Chapter 1902. When everyone was seated, Lu Yun asked suspiciously, "What is this Qin Feiyang doing? Why hasn't he come back yet?" Ren Duxing looked at Tan Tai Li and asked, "Mrs. Tan Tai, didn't you say that he is in your forgotten continent? Do you know the situation?" Tan Tai Li shook her head. In terms of seniority, she was the highest here. So even the emperor, Emperor Qin, and Emperor Hong were respectful to her, not to mention Ren Duxing and the others. Then where did this kid go? Could it be that he forgot? Everyone frowned. Impossible. Lu Hong's marriage is such a big matter, no matter how busy the young master is, he won't forget. Zhao Tailai laughed. As expected of the person I trust the most, you know me so well. A light laughter sounded. Following closely, Qin Feiyang brought the mermaid princess and descended on the square. So the woman your highness likes is her. She is indeed a national beauty. But why haven't I seen her before? That's not the point. The point is, looking at their clothes, it doesn't seem like they are getting married. Seeing Qin Feiyang and the mermaid princess coming hand in hand, the people on the surrounding streets were discussing. Stinking brat, you're finally willing to come back. Do you know that ever since you woke up, your grandfather and grandfather wanted to have a good talk with you? But you were gone for half a month. This old man really doesn't understand. What's so attractive to you in the Sea of Despair? Emperor Hong looked at Qin Feiyang with a sullen face. What is it that attracts me? Aren't you asking the obvious? Qin Feiyang chuckled. Little bastard. Emperor Hong scolded with a smile. Qin Feiyang's gaze turned and landed on the two old men next to Emperor Hong. That's right. The two of them were Emperor Chen and Lu Yun. Looking at Qin Feiyang, the two of them looked a little excited. Wife, let's go. Qin Feiyang turned his head and smiled at the mermaid princess, then pulled the blushing mermaid princess to the two old men and bowed. Feiyang and his wife greet grandfather. Don't talk nonsense, okay? We haven't gotten married yet. Mermaid princess bent, lowered her head, and glared fiercely at Qin Feiyang. It's just a matter of time. Qin Feiyang grinned. Good. Emperor Chen and Lu Yun nodded and helped Qin Feiyang and Lu Yun up. Lu Yun couldn't help but tear up. Qin Feiyang looked at the two old men in front of him and lowered his head in self-blame. Grandfather, I'm sorry. You have suffered so much because of me. What are you saying? You are our grandson. If we don't protect you, who should we protect? Okay. Let's not talk about this again. Let's have a good talk. The two of them smiled with tears in their eyes. Okay. Qin Feiyang nodded. Zhao Tailai, Tang Hai, and Shui Li automatically gave up their seats. After Qin Feiyang and the mermaid princess sat down, the three of them stood respectfully behind Qin Feiyang. Something is wrong. Qin Feiyang glanced at everyone and said suspiciously. What's wrong? Emperor Chen asked. Why do I only see the older generation? Where are the younger generation like Ling Yunfei and Qin Rushuang? Qin Feiyang said. He didn't see any of the younger generation in the square. Everyone looked at each other and smiled. Emperor Chen said, they are all busy. Qin Feiyang suddenly nodded his head. When he saw Li He, his expression was slightly stunned. He said in surprise, why are you here as well? What do you mean? Can't I come to Great Qin? Li He's face darkened and said angrily. Of course you can. Qin Feiyang smiled and looked at Zhao Tailai and the other two. He asked, where are Junior Leopard and Yu Huang? Zhao Tailai smiled mysteriously and said, they also have a mission. Ah. Qin Feiyang was surprised and said, am I the only one who has nothing to do? You are different. You are our savior. How can we let you worry about these things? Chui Li joked. Qin Feiyang rolled his eyes and didn't think about it anymore. He chatted and laughed with Emperor Chen and Lu Yun. A strong sense of family and happiness pervaded the square. That was the moment when noon arrived. Roar. All of a sudden, a loud beast roar sounded in the sky above the imperial palace and echoed in the sky above the imperial city for a long time. It's the Blood Kirin's voice, Qin Feiyang murmured and looked up in the direction of the imperial palace. Rumble. Soon. Another rumbling sound resounded in the sky. It was as if several ancient chariots were coming from the void in the distance. Gradually, the Blood Kirin, the Golden Leopard, the Crocodile King, the Golden Wolf King, and other beasts came into everyone's sight one after another. Their auras were like rainbows as they walked in the air step by step. However, the funny thing was that they were all tied with red ropes as thick as an arm. The other end of the ropes was tied to 3 big golden carriages. The 3 big carriages were made of pure gold. They were 5 or 6 meters long and had dragons and phoenixes carved on them. Gong Sun Bei, Qin Rushuang, Wang Zicheng, Ren Wushuang, Zhao Shuang, and the others followed beside the 3 big carriages and walked step by step. Everyone's face was full of bright smiles. Seeing this scene, Qin Feiyang couldn't help but laugh. He knew the Blood Kirin and the other beasts very well. They were all wild and unruly beasts. Now, they had put down their pride and ran to pull the wedding carriages. It seemed that these days in the imperial city, they had really integrated with everyone. However, the people on the streets and even the people in the first district couldn't stay calm at this moment. Although they didn't know what cultivation level the Blood Kirin and the other beasts were at, the Blood Kirin and the other beasts didn't hide their auras. Their divine power was rolling in all directions. Since it was divine power, it must be a divine beast. Using divine beasts to pull the carriages? This was too grand. Who on earth were the newlyweds in the 3 carriages? Rumble. After a while, the Blood Kirin and the other beasts landed on the square. The 3 carriages also landed steadily on the ground. Qin Feiyang looked at them one by one. In addition to the Blood Kirin and the other beasts, there were also thunder leopards, seals, seahorses, and so on. They were all emitting false god auras now. Back then, when Qin Feiyang entered the divine sight, their cultivation was already at the peak of the 9-star combat emperor realm. In the past few years, Second Grandpa had tirelessly taught them. Therefore, when the demon ancestor sent people to kidnap them, they had already broken through to the false god realm. Similarly, as the strongest people around him, Wang Yangfeng and Wang Yishan had also become false gods. The emperor stood up and looked at the Blood Kirin and the other beasts. He smiled and said, "Thank you for your hard work." The Blood Kirin said, "You know we have worked hard. Later, get us some good wine and let us drink to our heart's content." The emperor smiled and said, "You can have as much as you want. Later, you can drink to your heart's content. Now, let's invite the newlyweds out." The emperor smiled and turned to Qin Feiyang. He said, "Feiyang, they want you to be the witness. Come." Huh? Qin Feiyang was stunned. He said awkwardly, "I have no experience in this kind of thing." The emperor shook his head and said with a smile, "What experience do you need? Just let them come out. Then it's simple." Qin Feiyang smiled. He stood up and walked to the center of the square. He glanced at the 3 carriages and said, "Stop wasting time. Hurry up and come out." The emperor was stunned. The others also looked at each other. This was too simple. At least say a few words of blessing in advance. Can't I? Qin Feiyang turned to look at everyone. The emperor waved his hand and said, Okay. It's a matter for the young people anyway. You can do whatever you want." Qin Feiyang looked at the 3 carriages again and urged, "Hurry up. I want to see who other than Lu Zheng and Lu Hong are secretly getting married." Lu Zheng lifted the curtain and walked out of the carriage. He looked at Qin Feiyang speechlessly and said, "Little cousin, I was wrong. I was really wrong. I shouldn't have asked you to be the witness. There's no medicine for regret in this world." Qin Feiyang chuckled and said, "Lu Hong, what are you doing? Don't you think it's fun to hide in there?" With a series of footsteps, Lu Hong walked out with her head lowered. She was wearing a red dress with 2 golden fire phoenixes embroidered on it. She had a little light makeup on her face. She looked very natural. Her black hair was tied up high, looking clean and neat. She wore a phoenix coronet on her head and a red cape on her shoulders. Standing beside Lu Zheng, she did not dare to raise her head to look at everyone. Lu Zheng grabbed Lu Hong's hand and said with a smile, Hong, what are you shy about? You're the main character today. Hearing that, Lu Hong mustered up her courage and raised her head to look at everyone. Qin Feiyang looked at Lu Hong and said with a smile, You're the most beautiful today. Thank you. Lu Hong lowered her head again. Her face was red, and her voice was so soft that it was almost inaudible. Swish. Qin Feiyang looked at the other two carriages and said unhappily, You guys, do you only dare to do it if I do it? Boss, today is our big day. Can't you be a little more patient? A dissatisfied voice sounded. This voice, Qin Feiyang looked at the carriage in astonishment. It was Fatso's voice. No way. Fatso was getting married? Wait. Who was his bride? Why was there no news at all? That's right. We want to give you a surprise. Can't you cooperate? A displeased voice sounded from the other carriage as well. Ling Yunfei? Qin Feiyang turned to look at the carriage again. His expression was extremely shocked. The next moment, the curtains of the two carriages were also lifted. Ling Yunfei and Fatso walked out almost at the same time. It's really the two of you? Qin Feiyang glanced at the two of them and did not come back to his senses for a long time. Aren't you surprised? Fatso grinned and said with a smug look on his face. Ling Yunfei also looked at Qin Feiyang proudly. Surprise? Qin Feiyang's face twitched. There was really no surprise. There was quite a lot of shock. Chapter 1903. What's with your expression? Fatso frowned. He was wearing a bridegroom's clothes and had a big belly, just like a rich man. I'm just wondering. Ling Yunfei is a handsome man after all, but I really don't understand. Which girl would be so blind to fall in love with you? Everyone has their own preferences. Fat Lord is not very good looking, but he has a beautiful heart. Fatso smiled proudly. Beautiful heart? Qin Feiyang's mouth twitched fiercely. Who didn't know what kind of person this guy was? How dare he say it out loud? Suddenly, an angry rebuke sounded from behind the curtain. Qin Feiyang, I won't allow you to bully him. Before the voice died away, a woman dressed like Lu Hong came out and stared at Qin Feiyang with dissatisfaction. Qin Feiyang immediately froze on the spot. How could it be this woman? Fatso grabbed the woman's hand and laughed, Boss, Fat Lord's wife has a bad temper. You'd better watch your words in the future. Qin Feiyang was completely confused. This woman was Li He's granddaughter, Li Yan. Of course, he knew Li Yan. Not only was she beautiful, but she was also very capable and talented. He never expected that Li Yan would fall in love with Fatso. Wait. Was she forced by Fatso? Thinking of this, Qin Feiyang shivered and quickly looked at Li Yan and said, Did Fatso threaten you? Don't be afraid of him. I'll help you. Everyone present was suddenly stunned. Alas. I don't agree either. But this girl, I don't know what's wrong with her. Not only does she want to be with Fatso, but she also wants to get married immediately. Li He sighed secretly. Fatso was too different from the grandson-in-law in his heart. Boss, what do you mean? Fatso snapped back to reality and said angrily. Shut up. Qin Feiyang glared at him, then looked at Li Yan and said, Don't be afraid. Tell me if you have any grievances. Li Yan smiled bitterly and said, He didn't force me to marry him. I forced him to marry me. What? Qin Feiyang was dumbfounded. He asked, Are you all right? I know that this might seem inconceivable to you all. However, this is the truth. I just like him. Because I feel very secure when I'm with him. Besides, a person's appearance really doesn't matter as long as he treats me well for the rest of my life. Li Yan said and looked at Fatso affectionately. The entire place was silent. Qin Feiyang also fell silent. Such a woman was so rare. Fatso was extremely touched. He also grabbed Li Yan's hand and said very seriously and sincerely, "Yan, don't worry. Fat Lord will definitely treat you well for the rest of his life. Because Fat Lord also knows his own limits. It's the good karma of his ancestors to be able to marry you. Idiot, don't feel inferior. You're a man. You have to hold your head high and become someone I can rely on." Li Yan said with a smile. "Okay." Fatso nodded heavily and straightened his back. He pulled Li Yan and walked to Qin Feiyang step by step. "Boss, in fact, I really have to thank you. If it weren't for you, Fat Lord would have died somewhere long ago, let alone find such a beautiful wife. Thank you. I will remember your kindness for the rest of my life." After the fatty finished speaking, he bowed deeply as tears streamed down his face. "You are really silly. We are brothers. Why are you still saying this?" Qin Feiyang said helplessly. "Boss," Fatso looked up at Qin Feiyang. Suddenly, he stretched out his hands and gave Qin Feiyang a bear hug. He shouted, "Yes, we are brothers. Brothers for the rest of our lives." Qin Feiyang said, Okay. You are about to get married. Why are you still like a child?" Fatso wiped his tears, let go of Qin Feiyang, and said with a smile, "Since we are brothers, where is the gift?" "Gift?" Qin Feiyang was stunned. He frowned and said, "So you said so many mushy words just for a gift? What else do you think?" Fatso gritted his teeth and said, "No." Qin Feiyang's face darkened. He turned to look at Ling Yunfei, but there was a hint of a smile in his eyes. "Stingy." Fatso pursed his lips. Qin Feiyang said, "Ling Yunfei, who is your wife?" Ling Yunfei smiled evilly and turned to look inside the car. "Wife, it's time for you to show up." A woman walked slowly, stood beside Ling Yunfei, and smiled at Qin Feiyang. "It's you." Qin Feiyang smiled. This woman was old Master Zhao's granddaughter, Zhao Shuang. Zhao Shuang smiled and said, "Are you surprised?" "A little. But you and Ling Yunfei are together. It's a good thing that you don't let others take advantage of you." Qin Feiyang said. "What are you talking about?" Zhao Shuang glared at him. "Wife, Boss Qin is praising you. If you fall into the hands of another man, it will be too easy for him." Ling Yunfei said. "Cut the crap. Are your ears itchy?" Zhao Shuang immediately glared at Ling Yunfei. Don't. So many people are watching. Leave me some face." Ling Yunfei hurriedly waved his hand, with a flattering look on his face. Qin Feiyang was stunned and joked, "Ling Yunfei, I remember you said last time that someone was subdued by you?" Zhao Shuang's relaxed face instantly became unfriendly again. "Did I? Don't talk nonsense." Ling Yunfei laughed. Qin Feiyang smiled and said, "All of you, quickly come over and serve tea to your elders. I'll deal with you tonight." Zhao Shuang snorted and took the lead to get off the carriage. "Boss Qin, you've really made me suffer." Ling Yunfei grumbled in his heart and hurriedly followed up. Qin Feiyang said, "Come, serve tea." Immediately, 3 palace maids came out with exquisite trays. There was no need to talk about what happened next. As for Li He, although he had some small opinions, as long as his granddaughter was happy, he didn't care. He also prepared wedding gifts for the two. Lu Ji, old man Zhao, second grandpa, and the others were naturally very happy. Of course, they also prepared wedding gifts for their children and grandchildren. Although the gifts were not very expensive, they were the elders' intentions and their sincere blessings. So happy. Mermaid Princess walked to Qin Feiyang's side and looked at the 3 couples with a smile. There was a trace of envy in her eyes. Lu Qiuyu, the emperor, the Hong emperor, and the Qin emperor looked at Ling Yunfei and the other 6 people, and then looked at Qin Feiyang and the mermaid princess with a face of regret. Qin Feiyang saw all of this. In his heart, he couldn't help but feel a trace of guilt. He grabbed the mermaid princess's hand and whispered, "Don't worry, in the future, I will definitely give you a grand wedding, make you the happiest woman in the world." Mermaid princess was stunned and didn't say anything. A trace of expectation rose in her beautiful eyes. "Auntie, uncle, please have tea." Not only the elders like Lu Ji and old man Zhao, but even the emperor, Lu Qiuyu, and the others, Ling Yunfei and the other 6 people also came forward to serve tea. In the square, there was laughter. Finally, Fatso took Li Yan and walked to Qin Feiyang and the mermaid princess, handed them a teacup, and said, "Boss, sister-in-law, please have tea too." "We?" The two looked at each other. Mermaid princess hurriedly said, "This is not appropriate, auntie and the others are all elders, you should serve tea, but we, although we are of the same generation, my parents died early, and I only have Uncle Hai by my side." Uncle Hai, who was Situ Hai, was also present at the moment. "And boss, I have always treated him as my biological big brother. As the saying goes, an elder brother is like a father, and an elder sister-in-law is like a mother, so you must drink this cup of tea." Fatso looked at Qin Feiyang and the mermaid princess and said. This, mermaid princess looked at Qin Feiyang. "Since you have said so, let's drink." Qin Feiyang smiled, took the teacup, and drank it in one gulp. "I don't think I'm their sister-in-law yet." Mermaid princess shook her head helplessly, took the teacup in Li Yan's hand, and took a sip. Fatso took back the teacup and said with a smile, "Boss, sister-in-law, you have drunk the tea, now the gift can't run away, right?" Qin Feiyang's forehead suddenly formed a row of black lines. Sure enough, every move was a trick. "Big brother, sister-in-law, this gift definitely can't be missing. Moreover, big brother, you are a war god, and your status is incomparably noble. It definitely can't be just for show, right?" Li Yan laughed. Qin Feiyang's face twitched, and he said speechlessly, "This wedding ceremony doesn't seem to be over yet, and you are already working together as husband and wife? And you, Li Yan, you weren't like this before, you have been led astray by Fatso." Li Yan giggled. Qin Feiyang shook his head and laughed, and said, "Don't worry, this gift will definitely not be missing out on you." After saying that, he looked at the blood Kirin, Zhao Tailai, and the others, and said, "Is the Wind Moon Pavilion on you?" "No. The inner demons were handed over to Mistress," Zhao Tailai said. Qin Feiyang looked at Lu Qiuyu. Lu Qiuyu waved her hand, and the Wind Moon Pavilion, the Cosmos Bag, and the Golden Bead all appeared and flew in front of Qin Feiyang. Qin Feiyang put away the Cosmos Bag and released his divine sense into the Golden Bead and the Wind Moon Pavilion. Fatso said in surprise, "Boss, you're not going to give them to us, are you? In your dreams, you can only pick one." Qin Feiyang rolled his eyes at Fatso and said, "Is Fat Lord that kind of greedy person?" Fat Lord is just thinking, these are all supreme-grade divine artifacts. Fatso said, "Since you recognize me as your big brother, then this wedding gift must be decent." Qin Feiyang glanced at the 2 supreme-grade divine artifacts, and with a wave of his hand, the Wind Moon Pavilion flew in front of the 2 of them, and said with a smile, "Take it." "Thank you, boss." Fatso was overjoyed and immediately reached out to grab it. But suddenly, Qin Feiyang waved his hand, and the Wind Moon Pavilion returned to his hand. Fatso's smile froze, and he said angrily, "Boss, what are you doing? Are you trying to make me happy?" Qin Feiyang ignored him and walked to Li Yan, saying with a smile, "Take it, there is no blood contract in the Wind Moon Pavilion, you can directly drip blood to recognize it as your master, and in the future, if Fatso dares to bully you, you can use the Wind Moon Pavilion to beat him up." "Okay. Thank you, Qin Dage." Li Yan took the Wind Moon Pavilion happily and immediately dripped blood to recognize it in front of Fatso. After recognizing it as its master, Li Yan put the Wind Moon Pavilion into her body under Fatso's envious gaze, and then she did not forget to smile at Fatso. Fatso immediately swallowed his saliva. It seemed that the future days would not be easy. Chapter 1904. Seeing that Fatso and Li Yan actually got a supreme-grade divine artifact, Ling Yunfei and Lu Zheng looked at each other with green light in their eyes. This little cousin is really generous. Lu Zheng murmured. Ling Yunfei rolled his eyes and said telepathically, "Little cousin, we can't just let Fatso and Li Yan take advantage of them. Let's go." Yes, yes, yes. Lu Zheng nodded. The two immediately took their respective brides, held their teacups, and ran toward Qin Feiyang. Looking at Lu Zheng and Ling Yunfei's behavior, second grandpa angrily scolded, "How can you run around on such an important day?" "Huh, second brother, don't be so old-fashioned. The times are different now. It's the world of young people. Why do you care so much?" Lu Yun said with a smile. Second grandpa was stunned and couldn't help but smile bitterly. At the same time, Qin Feiyang looked at Lu Zheng and Ling Yunfei running over, and his face twitched again. He stretched out his hand and said, "Stop." The two suddenly stopped, and the tea in the teacup splashed out. "Lu Zheng, what are you doing?" Lu Hong looked at Lu Zheng angrily. "Ling Yunfei, don't embarrass me." Zhao Shuanger also glared at Ling Yunfei. Ling Yunfei said disdainfully, "How is this embarrassing? It's a waste not to take advantage of it." Zhao Shuanger's face was dark. Ling Yunfei looked at Qin Feiyang and said with a sneaky smile, "Boss Qin, I have always treated you as my brother. You can't favor one and discriminate against the other." Qin Feiyang rolled his eyes. Lu Zheng also looked at Qin Feiyang, grinned, and was about to speak. Qin Feiyang hurriedly waved his hand and said, "Stop." "What? You won't even give me a chance to speak?" Lu Zheng's smile froze. He glared at Qin Feiyang angrily. Qin Feiyang said, "It's true that Fatso and Ling Yunfei treat me as their big brother, but so it's this. It's nothing. As long as you give me enough benefits, we can make an exchange. I'll be the younger cousin, and you'll be the older cousin." Lu Zheng said with a grin. Fatso and Ling Yunfei immediately cast disdainful glances at Lu Zheng. Gong Sunbei, Qin Rushuang, and the others looked at each other and could not help but shake their heads and laugh. Second grandpa was fuming and glaring at him. For the sake of some congratulatory gifts, he didn't even care about his dignity. What kind of behavior was this? This was simply a disgrace to the Lu family. Qin Feiyang was also speechless. He said, "You'd better look at second grandpa's face now." Lu Zheng glanced at second grandpa and did not take it to heart. He looked at Qin Feiyang and said, "Don't use him to scare me. It's useless. Bastard." Second grandpa was furious. "Second brother, what do you think you're doing?" Lu Yun saw that the situation was not good. He hurriedly held second grandpa down and comforted him. Qin Feiyang smiled helplessly. He looked at the blood Kirin and said, "Give me the dragon vein sword and the Kirin armor." The blood Kirin was stunned. Qin Feiyang smiled and said, "Give it to me." The blood Kirin sighed helplessly. With a thought, the dragon vein sword and the Kirin armor appeared. After a period of repair, the Kirin armor had been restored to its original state. Qin Feiyang waved his hand, and the two supreme-grade divine artifacts flew to him. Then, he erased the blood contract. Looking at the two divine artifacts, Lu Zheng and Ling Yunfei's eyes lit up. Qin Feiyang rolled his eyes at the two and said calmly, "It's the same as Fatso's. You don't have a share." When the two heard this, their faces immediately withered like frosted eggplants. Qin Feiyang looked at Lu Hong and Zhao Shuang and smiled. "Come here." The two looked at each other and walked in front of Qin Feiyang. Qin Feiyang looked at Zhao Shuang and smiled. To be honest, I used to feel guilty. Why? Zhao Shuang was suspicious. Back in the Swallow Pan mountain range, when you were ambushed by Zuan, I swore to help you and take care of your family. But at that time, I only thought of Aunt Shui and Aunt Lu Ji. As for your grandfather, I did not do anything. It wasn't until he was killed that I remembered that I hadn't even come to visit him before. So, please forgive my carelessness. Qin Feiyang lowered his head and said apologetically. You think too much. I never blamed you. Besides, hasn't grandfather been resurrected? Zhao Shuang smiled. Thank you. Qin Feiyang said gratefully and smiled. Then you can choose one. That's not good. I know that you still have to go to the miracle. Keeping these divine artifacts will definitely help you. Zhao Shuang said. It's okay. You have to trust me. Qin Feiyang smiled. In that case, Zhao Shuang glanced at the Kirin armor and dragon vein sword, then looked at Qin Feiyang and said, let Sister Lu Hong choose first. Lu Hong was stunned and looked at Zhao Shuang helplessly. Just choose. Why are you being so polite? Zhao Shuang looked at Lu Hong, then looked at the Kirin armor and dragon vein sword. For a moment, she could not make up her mind. Ling Yunfei whispered in Zhao Shuang's ear, my dear wife, we want the dragon vein sword. Why? Zhao Shuang was suspicious. Ling Yunfei said, the Kirin armor is only a defensive divine artifact. It has no lethality. The dragon vein sword is definitely better. Then I want the Kirin armor. Zhao Shuang grabbed the Kirin armor, completely ignoring the stunned Ling Yunfei. She directly dripped her blood on it to claim ownership. Ling Yunfei said anxiously, my dear wife, what are you doing? Zhao Shuang said, I just want to live a peaceful life in the future, so I don't need the dragon vein sword. Seeing that Zhao Shuang had made up her mind, Ling Yunfei did not dare to force her. He sighed helplessly. Qin Feiyang smiled, looked at Lu Hong, and said, girl, although you don't have a family, in the future, my parents and I will be your family. If Lu Jing bullies you in the future, you can come to us. We will help you teach him a lesson. Lu Hong's eyes trembled, and tears streamed down her cheeks. Qin Feiyang raised his hand and gently wiped away Lu Hong's tears. He said with a smile, today is your big day. You can't cry. Okay. Lu Hong nodded. Okay, quickly take the dragon vein sword. With this divine artifact, I think Lu Zheng will not dare to bully you in the future. Qin Feiyang said with a smile. I dare to bully her? It's good that she doesn't bully me. Lu Zheng pursed his lips. Fatso and Ling Yunfei also looked distressed. The three women all had supreme-grade divine artifacts. How could they live in the future? Okay. Qin Feiyang turned around and took a few steps forward. Then, he faced Ling Yunfei and the others and said with a smile, then I officially announce that you are husband and wife. Hurry up and go to the bridal chamber. Yeah. We can finally go to the bridal chamber. Everyone, goodbye. Ling Yunfei and the other two cheered and immediately went forward to hug their brides. Lu Hong and the other two also lowered their heads shyly. Wait. But suddenly, the emperor's voice sounded. Qin Feiyang was slightly stunned. He turned to look at the emperor and found that his father's expression was very ugly at the moment. He looked at the second grandpa and the others, who all looked angry. What's going on? Qin Feiyang was puzzled. Brat, it's broad daylight. You let them go to the bridal chamber. Isn't this nonsense? Besides, we have booked the fragrant moon house and set up a banquet. There are a large group of distinguished guests waiting for us in the fragrant moon house now. If you let them go to the bridal chamber now, who will entertain them later? The emperor said angrily. After that, he looked at Ling Yunfei and the others and said, and you, can't you wait? Ling Yunfei and the other two quickly put down the brides in their arms and looked at the emperor with embarrassed smiles. Qin Feiyang also looked quite embarrassed. He coughed and said, "Then let's go to the fragrant moon house." A group of Kirin army, eunuchs, and palace maids immediately cleared the way in front. Ling Yunfei and the other two immediately pulled Lu Hong and the other two to the fragrant moon house. Because the fragrant moon house was next to the square, there was no need to take a carriage. After everyone left one by one, Lu Qiuyu came over and said with a smile, "How does it feel to be a witness?" "Tired." Qin Feiyang smiled bitterly. "You're already saying you're tired?" Lu Qiuyu shook her head and looked at the mermaid princess standing next to her. She sighed and said, "Actually, what mother wants to see the most is you two getting married." Qin Feiyang quickly said, "Mother, enough. I know your character. There's no need to explain. In short, as long as you're happy." Lu Qiuyu laughed. "Thank you for your understanding, mother." Qin Feiyang bowed and said, feeling really sorry for his mother. "Master." Suddenly, a surprised cry sounded. Qin Feiyang turned his head and saw a young man running out of the crowd. It was Wang Xiaojie. Beside Wang Xiaojie was a young man in black. This person was not old and his cultivation was not strong, but whether it was his eyes or his demeanor, they were far superior to his peers. His entire body was filled with an astonishing sharpness. Lu Qiuyu looked at Wang Xiaojie and Qin Feiyang and smiled. "You guys chat, I'll go to the fragrant moon pavilion first." Qin Feiyang said in surprise, "You're going too?" "Not only will your mother go, I will also go." The emperor walked over at this time. Qin Feiyang looked at the emperor, his face full of surprise, and said, "Father, you are the emperor of a country. You have given everyone enough face by attending the ceremony. Now you want to attend the banquet, isn't it a bit inappropriate?" The emperor was stunned, hugged Lu Qiuyu, and said with a smile, "Our child has really grown up, you know how to think for us." "Yes." Lu Qiuyu nodded. The emperor looked up at Qin Feiyang and said with a smile, "If it was in the past, not to mention a banquet, even if it was a ceremony, I would not participate. But after experiencing so many things, I have also thought it through. As an emperor, although dignity is indispensable, sometimes you don't have to be too serious." Qin Feiyang looked at the emperor in a daze. To be honest, looking at his father now, he was really not used to it. "Enough. You guys chat, we'll go first." The emperor smiled, pulled Lu Qiuyu, and walked towards the fragrant moon pavilion. Lu Qiuyu glared at the emperor and said in a low voice, "I say, can you let go? You are so young, aren't you afraid of being laughed at? You are my wife, what's wrong with me holding you? Moreover, the entire Great Qin is mine, who dares to laugh at me?" The emperor said proudly. Lu Qiuyu smiled helplessly, but in her heart, she was happy. Chapter 1905. After the two left, Wang Xiaojie immediately went up and said with a smile, "Master, mistress." "Master." The black-clothed youth also bowed. This person was Mu Chen. But later, he followed Qin Feiyang, and Qin Feiyang changed his name to Qin Chen. Qin Feiyang looked at the two and said with a smile, "Are you both okay?" "Can't be better." Wang Xiaojie smiled and looked at the mermaid princess, saying, "Mistress, you are so beautiful. My master's ancestors must have accumulated good karma to get such a beautiful wife like you." Qin Feiyang's face darkened. The mermaid princess was also stunned, then said with a smile, "You little guy, you know how to talk. This is the truth." Wang Xiaojie said with a serious face, then changed the topic and said with a smile, "Mistress, do you have any greeting gift?" The mermaid princess was stunned. Qin Feiyang couldn't help but give Wang Xiaojie a knock on the head and said angrily, "Is this greeting gift enough?" Wang Xiaojie rubbed his forehead, looking wronged. Qin Feiyang said, "You really don't learn the good things and only learn the bad things." In the future, stay away from Fatso and the others. Wang Xiaojie lowered his head and said with dissatisfaction, "It's the first time I see mistress, it's natural to give a greeting gift. Are you still looking for a beating?" Qin Feiyang's face darkened. No. Wang Xiaojie hurriedly waved his hand, his face was full of flattery, but then he pretended to be deep and sighed, saying, "Master, you are really not a qualified master." Qin Feiyang was stunned, his hands crossed in front of his chest, looking at Wang Xiaojie and said, "Tell me, how am I not qualified?" "Look. When Qin Shen and I followed you, you didn't teach us anything, and directly threw us into the mountains and forests, leaving us to fend for ourselves. Do you see any master in the world like you?" Wang Xiaojie pouted. The corner of Qin Feiyang's mouth twitched. Looking at the silent Qin Shen, he looked at Wang Xiaojie and said indifferently, "This is how I teach people. If you're not satisfied, you can leave at any time." Wang Xiaojie's body froze. Was he going to expel him from the sect? That won't do. Wang Xiaojie quivered and hurriedly said, "Master, this disciple didn't mean that. This disciple just wants to say, can you show more concern for us? Are you still a child? You still want me to care about you? If you want to stand at the top of the pyramid of this continent, you must learn to be independent and learn to endure. Because when facing an enemy, no one will show mercy to you." Qin Feiyang said. "Master is right." Wang Xiaojie nodded submissively. Originally, he wanted to gain some benefits, but he didn't expect that instead of gaining any benefits, he would be fiercely reprimanded. The losses outweighed the gains. Qin Feiyang looked at Qin Shen and asked, "What about you?" Qin Shen said, "I didn't think too much because I know that you're doing this for our own good. It's not bad to have this understanding. In the future, your achievements will definitely be higher than Wang Xiaojie's. However, you must always remember who gave you all of this. You know what I mean, right?" Qin Feiyang said. "I know. Although I've changed my name to Qin Shen, the bloodline of the Mu family still flows in my body. Moreover, I'm the only one who's still alive in the current Mu family. So, you're worried that I'll rebel?" Qin Shen said. "You're indeed smart." Qin Feiyang praised with a smile. Qin Shen said, "I swear to the heavens that I'll never do anything to harm the great Qin dynasty." "I believe you." Qin Feiyang nodded and smiled. He waved his hand and said, Go and relax. Don't pull a long face all day." "Yes." Qin Shen nodded respectfully. Qin Feiyang looked at Wang Xiaojie and said, "You go too. Learn from him in the future." Wang Xiaojie pursed his lips and reluctantly followed Qin Shen to the fragrant Moon Inn. This Qin Shen is indeed a promising talent. However, this disciple of yours is not bad. There's no need to be so harsh on her." Mermaid Princess said. "If I don't be harsh on them now, it'll be the same as harming them. After all, I can't always protect them, right? Moreover, the great Qin dynasty will be their world in the future. Of course, I hope that they can go further and further." Qin Feiyang said. Mermaid Princess thought for a moment and nodded with a smile, "That's true. I hope they can understand your painstaking efforts. If they're really a promising talent, they'll understand." Qin Feiyang smiled and released his divine sense toward the imperial palace. "What are you looking for?" Mermaid Princess was suspicious. Qin Feiyang pondered for a moment and said with a smile, "You go to the banquet first. I'm going to meet someone." "Okay." Mermaid Princess didn't ask much. She was very sensible. Qin Feiyang took a step forward and disappeared instantly. Imperial Palace Back Mountain. In a huge valley, tombs were neatly arranged in the valley. This was the imperial tomb. Each tomb was built in an extremely imposing manner. At this moment, in front of one of the tombs, a young man knelt under the tombstone, tears streaming down his face as he kept sobbing. The young man was the little prince. There was no doubt that the person in the tomb was her mother. Swish. Qin Feiyang silently descended behind the little prince. Looking at the tomb, his eyes were filled with disgust. Bang! Suddenly, he raised his foot and kicked the little prince's back. The little prince immediately fell to the ground and ate a mouthful of mud. Who? He immediately got up and roared angrily. But when he turned around and saw that it was Qin Feiyang, a trace of fear suddenly appeared in his eyes. You didn't even notice that I appeared behind you. What right do you have to threaten to kill me? Qin Feiyang said with a contemptuous face. The little prince flew into a rage out of humiliation and roared, "That's because you're strong, don't find excuses. No means no. I'm too lazy to talk nonsense with you. This time I'm not here to find you. I'm here for this tomb." Qin Feiyang said. Tomb. The little prince was stunned. He quickly stood in front of the tombstone and said in a panic, "What do you want to do to my mother's tomb?" Qin Feiyang said expressionlessly, "She's not qualified to be buried in the imperial tomb." Why? The little prince roared. Qin Feiyang frowned and said, "Don't you know?" What should I know? The little prince's angry face showed a trace of confusion. Qin Feiyang looked at the little prince. It seemed that his father didn't tell the little prince about that woman. But it made sense. After all, the little prince was still young. This kind of thing was too cruel for him. It might even affect the little prince's life. It was a good thing to hide it from him. Qin Feiyang pondered for a while and said to the little prince, "How about we make a deal?" Not interested. The little prince said. "I'm afraid that's not up to you. I can let your mother continue to be buried in the imperial tomb for the time being. But my condition is that you have to break through to the divine war realm within 1,000 years. If you can't do it, then it won't be as simple as moving. When the time comes, I will destroy your mother's tomb bit by bit in front of you." Qin Feiyang said calmly. "I won't allow you to do that." The little prince immediately roared and pounced at Qin Feiyang with bared fangs and brandished claws. Qin Feiyang waved his hand, and with a "pa" sound, the little prince was sent flying on the spot. He rolled on the ground in a sorry state. This kind of childish behavior is meaningless. You can only agree. Otherwise, I will destroy your mother's tomb right now," Qin Feiyang said. The little prince was covered in mud and blood was flowing from the corner of his mouth. He got up and stared at Qin Feiyang. "Make your choice," Qin Feiyang said. The little prince turned to look at the tomb and nodded, "Okay, I promise you. I will definitely enter the divine war realm within 1,000 years. Then I'll wait and see." Qin Feiyang glanced at him indifferently. Then, he turned around and stepped into the air. "Not only will I enter the divine war realm, but I will also kill you to avenge today's humiliation." The little prince roared. "Do you know what humiliation is now? Looks like you've grown a lot. Work hard. The future of the great Qin dynasty depends on you. You will become a wise emperor. Make me proud of you." Qin Feiyang muttered to himself and disappeared from the young prince's line of sight without even looking back. At the Fragrant Moon Inn, the streets were blocked by the Kirin army. Even a fly would not be able to get in. The entrance of the Fragrant Moon Inn was guarded by the commander of the Kirin army. Anyone who wanted to enter the Fragrant Moon Inn had to show their invitation cards. "Marquis Yuanwu is here. Marquis Chu Wu is here. Marquis Minwu is here. Master Qin Sheng is here. The head of the Pill Pagoda and the elder of law enforcement is here." A series of loud yells could be heard. Anyone who was invited was either a martial marquis, a minister, or a person in power in the divine palace. In short, almost all of the famous, influential figures had come. After all, the banquet was personally organized by the emperor himself. Furthermore, the emperor himself was present. How could they not show up? Of course. There was another reason. Qin Feiyang. Qin Feiyang was the pillar of the great Qin dynasty. His position in people's hearts was no less than that of the emperor. So, most of them were here to get closer to Qin Feiyang and get familiar with him. Head of the treasure pavilion and steward Sun Dahai are here. Along with a respectful call, a white-clothed woman who looked like a young girl slowly walked to the entrance of the Fragrant Moon Inn with a white-haired old man. The commander of the Kirin army hurried to greet them and said with a smile, "Why are you two so late? We were afraid that you wouldn't be able to greet us." The lady in white smiled and nodded at Sun Dahai. Sun Dahai immediately took out 2 invitations and handed them to the commander of the Kirin army. The commander of the Kirin army took the invitations and opened them. He stepped aside and said with a smile, "Please come in." "Thank you." The lady in white smiled gently and entered the Fragrant Moon Inn. "Steward Sun, long time no see." But at this moment, a laugh was heard. Following which, Qin Feiyang arrived at the entrance. "Greetings, Your Highness." The commander of the Kirin army hurried forward and bowed. "Yes." Qin Feiyang nodded and looked at Sun Dahai. Seeing Sun Dahai looking at him in a daze, he shook his head and said with a smile, "Why are you looking at me like that? Don't you recognize me?" Sun Dahai quickly bowed and said, "Greetings, Your Highness." Qin Feiyang hurried forward and helped Sun Dahai up, saying, "Elder son, you don't have to be so polite with me. To think that Your Highness still remembers this old man. This old man is ashamed." Sun Dahai sighed. Chapter 1906. What are you ashamed of? Let's go. Let's get drunk today. Qin Feiyang pulled Sun Dahai and walked inside. What's going on? Why is His Highness so close to Sun Dahai? Seeing this, many people were a little surprised. The commander of the Kirin army was also suspicious. He quickly caught up with Qin Feiyang and said, "Your Highness, I have a few words to say to you." Qin Feiyang was stunned. He stopped and turned to look at the commander of the Kirin army. Plop. The commander of the Kirin army knelt on the ground and blamed himself. "I'm really sorry for what happened back then." Qin Feiyang said, "Do you think you can forget about it by saying sorry?" The commander of the Kirin army lowered his head and his face was full of guilt. Suddenly, Qin Feiyang shook his head and smiled. He reached out to help the commander of the Kirin army up and said, "It's all in the past. Don't take it to heart." Your Highness, the commander of the Kirin army looked at Qin Feiyang in a daze. "I was just joking with you. I've forgotten about it. Besides, you were just following orders. Come in and find me when you're done. Let's have a few drinks." Qin Feiyang said. "Yes." The commander of the Kirin army shouted. He stood straight and his face was full of gratitude. Qin Feiyang patted him on the shoulder and turned to pull Sun Dahai into the Fragrant Moon brothel. "Your Highness, long time no see. How have you been?" The woman in white stood in front and looked at Qin Feiyang with a smile. "You are?" Qin Feiyang looked at the woman in white suspiciously. Sun Dahai hurriedly said, "She's our leader." Qin Feiyang suddenly realized. He looked at the woman in white and asked, "Have we met before?" "Your Highness is really direct. But even if we haven't met, we know of each other's existence," the white-clothed woman said. "That's true." Qin Feiyang smiled. The white-robed girl cast a suspicious glance at Sun Dahai. After that, she turned to Qin Feiyang and spoke, "You guys chat then. I'll go meet some old friends." In fact, she was also very puzzled. Why did the relationship between Qin Feiyang and Sun Dahai suddenly become so good? In fact, it was so good that it was somewhat ridiculous. "All right." Qin Feiyang nodded. After the white-clothed woman left, the guests in the hall stood up and bowed. "Everyone, enjoy the food and drink. Don't be shy," Qin Feiyang said with a smile. He then greeted Sun Dahai warmly and walked upstairs. Sun Dahai smiled bitterly and said, "Your Highness, this little old man is somewhat overwhelmed by your favor like this." Qin Feiyang shook his head and laughed. He sighed and said, "To be honest, I really have to thank you this time. If you hadn't secretly told me about Great Qin's situation in the Central Divine Kingdom, I really don't know what would have happened." Sun Dahai said, "It was just a small matter." Wrong. If it was just a small matter, why didn't those marquises and ministers tell me? I know that they don't have confidence in me and think that I can't defeat the demon ancestor. So, they don't want to draw trouble to themselves. But you are different. You truly love Great Qin and don't want Great Qin to fall into the hands of the demon ancestor. You also trust me without a doubt. Just this trust alone is something that ordinary people can't compare to. Qin Feiyang said. Your Highness is too serious. As a citizen of Great Qin, it's only right that I care about Great Qin's safety. Sun Dahai shook his head and smiled. You're old, so don't be modest. If I lose this time and the demon ancestor finds out that you're the one who told him, you'll definitely be killed. So, you risked your life to tell me the news. I, Qin Feiyang, will always remember this kindness. Qin Feiyang said. Sun Dahai stopped and looked at Qin Feiyang. Seeing that Qin Feiyang's expression was incomparably sincere, he said, "With your Highness's words, this old man can die without regrets." Old man, when did you become so polite? Qin Feiyang rolled his eyes. Your Highness is so polite. How would I dare to be impudent? Sun Dahai said innocently. Ah. Qin Feiyang was stunned. Thinking back, from the time he met Sun Dahai at the door until now, it seemed that he had been polite. Qin Feiyang laughed and said, my bad, my bad. I'll punish myself with 3 cups later. Seeing this, Sun Dahai couldn't help but laugh, and said, Your Highness, if you really want to thank this old man, then don't say such polite words. Qin Feiyang was stunned, and asked, Then what do you want? What do you think? Sun Dahai asked. Qin Feiyang pondered for a while, looked around, and asked in a low voice, You don't want the position of the pavilion master of the treasure pavilion, do you? Although this is just a question, it doesn't seem right for you to do this. After all, your pavilion master is still so young. What are you thinking about? Who wants the position of pavilion master? Sun Dahai's veins bulged. Then what do you want? Qin Feiyang was suspicious. Sun Dahai snorted coldly, Don't play dumb, I don't believe that you really don't know what I'm thinking. Qin Feiyang laughed out loud. He shook his head and said, You damned old man, you really haven't changed at all. You're always thinking about those pill formulas of mine. Sun Dahai rolled his eyes and said, As a businessman, if I don't think about the pill formulas, do you think I'll think about you? Don't. I'm not interested in men, let alone a rotten old man like you. Qin Feiyang said. Sun Dahai joked, You don't know, right? An old man is better than a young man, more experienced. Ugh. Qin Feiyang looked at Sun Dahai in astonishment. Sun Dahai rubbed his hands, like a weasel looking at a lamb, and said to Qin Feiyang, How about it, do you want to try? Scram. Qin Feiyang's face darkened, and he directly kicked. Feiyang, we're here. At this moment, a pleasant voice sounded from above. Qin Feiyang looked up and saw a peerless beauty standing in front of the railing on the top floor. It was the mermaid princess. Sun Dahai looked at the mermaid princess, and poked Qin Feiyang's back, and said with a wretched smile, Boy, you're quite lucky. Have you become a real man now? What real man? Qin Feiyang was suspicious. Sun Dahai said with a tone of disappointment, Stupid, of course it's a matter between men and women. Qin Feiyang was speechless. Why didn't I realize that you're such a wretched old man before? Sun Dahai didn't care and shook his head. It seems that you haven't made your move yet. You're not going to make your move on such a beautiful woman? Do you have a problem in that area? Old man's son. Qin Feiyang shouted angrily. Can this old man take it that you're angry out of humiliation? It seems that you do have a problem in that area, but don't be afraid, this old man has a secret recipe that specializes in all kinds of male problems. For the sake of our friendship, this old man won't take your money. This old man will have someone send it to you some other day, and I guarantee that you'll be able to regain your masculinity. Sun Dahai smiled slyly. Qin Feiyang rolled his eyes at him, and then swept Sun Dahai up to the top floor. Next to it was a private room. And it was the largest and most luxurious room in the fragrant moon brothel. At this moment, the door of the room was open. Qin Feiyang turned his head and saw Tan Tai Li and Emperor Hong sitting at the head of the table, followed by Emperor Chen, Qin Yuan, Lu Yun, second grandpa, third grandpa, and fourth grandpa. Then there was the emperor couple, the mermaid emperor. Then there was Qin Rushwang. These were all Qin Feiyang's close relatives. Tan Tai Li said, "Brat, we're waiting for you. Come in quickly." Okay. Qin Feiyang nodded, pulled the mermaid princess, looked at Sun Dahai, and said, "Let's go in." This, looking at the table of people inside, Sun Dahai could not help but turn pale. What's wrong? Qin Feiyang was suspicious. Sun Dahai stammered, "Everyone here is your family, and I'm the only outsider. This isn't appropriate." What's inappropriate about it? Qin Feiyang directly raised his hand and pushed Sun Dahai in. The emperor and others looked at Sun Dahai, and also looked at Qin Feiyang suspiciously. Although today was Ling Yunfei's wedding banquet, it was now equivalent to a family banquet. Naturally, a family banquet should be a family banquet. But why did Qin Feiyang let Sun Dahai in? "Your Majesty, my lords," Sun Dahai stood inside the door with his head lowered, not daring to look at them. Qin Feiyang walked in with the mermaid princess, and then closed the door. Lu Chuyu asked, "Feiyang, what's going on?" Qin Feiyang pulled the mermaid princess to sit next to Qin Rushwang, and then briefly explained the situation. "I see." Only then did everyone realize. Lu Chuyu smiled, "Indeed, we should thank you properly. Elder son, don't be so reserved, quickly sit down." "Yes, Your Majesty." Sun Dahai nodded, walked to the table timidly, and sat next to Qin Feiyang. "Okay. After so many years, this is the first time our family has gathered together. Today, no national affairs, no worries, no trivial matters, we'll just talk about our family." Emperor Hong smiled. "Yes. The last time we gathered together was when Feiyang was born. In the blink of an eye, Feiyang has not only grown up, but also found a wife. We old guys have to admit that we're old." Emperor Chen sighed. "We're old, but on the wine table, we can't lose to the young people." Lu Yun said as he got up to pour wine. "Yes, let this kid know that we old people are not easy to bully." Emperor Hong nodded. Swish. A group of old men immediately stared at Qin Feiyang. Qin Feiyang's eyelids twitched, and he looked at everyone warily and said, "What are you doing? Let me tell you, I'm not good at drinking at all. With so many elders here, even if you don't know how to drink, you have to drink. Not only you, but your wife also has to drink." Qin Yuan chuckled. Qin Feiyang said helplessly, "Uncle Yuan, why are you fooling around?" Qin Yuan said, "Silly boy, this is not fooling around. This is everyone's concern for you. After all, it's easier for you and your wife to do things when you're drunk, and we have a chance to hold grandchildren." "Do things? Hold grandchildren?" Qin Feiyang's face twitched. It turned out that this group of old people was planning this. But no matter how he looked at it, they were disrespectful. Pfft. Qin Rushwang on the side laughed directly. Sun Dahai's face also turned red. When the mermaid princess heard that, she immediately lowered her head. Her face was so pale that it was almost dripping water. Chapter 1907. On this day, Qin Feiyang was miserable. Although Emperor Hong and the others were old, their alcohol tolerance was quite terrifying. After an afternoon, Qin Feiyang was already dead drunk. The mermaid princess also drank a lot. However, although everyone said it, they did not force her. As an outsider, Sun Dahai was naturally even more miserable. Moreover, because the people sitting here were all supreme figures of great Qin, they did not refuse anyone. Before evening, they had already been carried back. Qin Feiyang also wanted to run, but it was not so easy. After the three grooms, Fatso, Lu Zheng, and Ling Yunfei, greeted the guests, they staggered over to find Qin Feiyang, reeking of alcohol. Helpless, Qin Feiyang could only secretly use his divine power to refine the alcohol in his body and continue to fight with everyone. Late at night, the guests slowly dispersed. The emperor and the others also returned to the palace. Only a group of young people was left. However, the commander of the Kirin army was still here. The emperor had specially asked him to stay here and look after everyone. Qin Feiyang lay on the table, his face drunk. He said weakly, "Damn Fatso, little cousin, Ling brat, aren't you going to the bridal chamber? You keep dragging me to drink. What's the point of the bridal chamber? Besides, we can't forget our friends in the face of love. Tonight, we'll drink with you to our heart's content." The three of them were also a drunken mess. The mermaid princess, Lu Hong, Li Yan, and Zhao Shuang sat to the side, looking at their men with helpless faces. Gong Sunbei said with a smile, "All these years, they've been working hard and struggling. It's not easy to have some free time, so let them indulge." Li Yan asked, "Big brother Gong Sun, what plans do you have for the future?" "Me?" Gong Sunbei grabbed the wine cup, thought for a moment, and said, "Yishu talked to me a few days ago and asked me to take over the position of Chief Tower Master. This is a good thing." Fatso raised his head, put his arm around Gong Sunbei's shoulder, and said, "Congratulations, brother Gong Sun, for becoming the 5th Chief Tower Master. From now on, you have to take good care of us." "I haven't decided yet." Gong Sunbei shook his head. "No decision?" "Big brother Gong Sun, isn't it your wish to lead the Forgotten Continent to glory?" Li Yan said. "You're right, but the world is at peace now. Madame Tantaili has returned, and Yishu and the other gods of war have returned. It's not my turn." Gong Sunbei shook his head. "Do you think they would care about such mundane matters? People who have reached the war god realm, unless the world is in chaos and the end of the world, they won't interfere at all." Fatso said. The others nodded in agreement. Gong Sunbei was stunned. He smiled and said, "Today is the day to drink. Tomorrow is the day to worry. Come, let's get drunk tonight." The next day. Early morning. Imperial Palace, Bright Sky Palace. Qin Feiyang slowly opened his eyes, rubbed his swollen and painful forehead, and turned his head to look. A blissful smile immediately appeared on his face. Beside the bed, the mermaid princess was lying on the edge of the bed, her eyes slightly closed, and a faint smile hung on her crystal-clear face. Obviously, the mermaid princess had been waiting for him the whole night. Qin Feiyang raised his arm and gently tidied the hair on the mermaid princess' forehead. Then, he slowly got out of bed, picked up the mermaid princess, and gently placed her on the bed. Although his movements were very gentle, it still woke the mermaid princess up. She opened her eyes, looked at Qin Feiyang, and said with a smile, "You're awake." "And?" Qin Feiyang nodded and said with a smile, "You've taken care of me the whole night. Rest for a while more." "I'm not tired." The mermaid princess shook her head, sat up, and moved from the side, saying, "Come up and chat with me for a while." "All right." Qin Feiyang nodded and sat on the bed. The mermaid princess immediately snuggled into his arms. Qin Feiyang held the mermaid princess' hair in one hand and the mermaid princess' hand in the other. He smiled and said, "What do you want to talk about?" The mermaid princess said, when are you going to enter the miracle? Enter the miracle, Qin Feiyang muttered, pondered for a moment, and shook his head. I don't know either. The mermaid princess asked, are you reluctant to part with your current life? That's right. I didn't even dare to dream of a life like this before. Now that I finally have it, I really don't want to leave. Qin Feiyang sighed. The mermaid princess said, but you can't let go of the inner demons and big cousin's death. Let go? How is that possible? Qin Feiyang shook his head and sighed. The mermaid princess said, how about this? Forget about these things for now and live well with Auntie and the others for a while. I'm afraid that the longer I stay, the more reluctant I will be. Qin Feiyang pondered for a moment and said, let's make a decision. Why don't we leave now? Now? The mermaid princess raised her head and looked at Qin Feiyang in a daze. Isn't this too fast? Although you've been awake for half a month, we've been in the sea of despair for this half a month and haven't been able to accompany Auntie and Uncle properly. Qin Feiyang was stunned and nodded. You're right. The mermaid princess continued, besides, Fatso and Lu Hong just got married. If you leave with them, won't Lu Zheng and Li Yan kill you? Fatso? Lu Hong? Qin Feiyang froze and smiled. I don't plan on taking them with me. You don't want to take them with you? The mermaid princess was surprised. As you said, they are already married. How can I let them take the risk with me? Not just Fatso and Lu Hong. I won't take the others or the beasts with me. Qin Feiyang said. The mermaid princess said, White-Eyed Wolf, Zhao Tai Lai, Yu Huang, the Blood Kirin, and the Willow Tree. You won't take them with you? Of course, they are different. I'm talking about Wang Zicheng and the Black Dragon Snake. As for White-Eyed Wolf and Zhao Tai Lai, I will ask for their opinion first. If they want, they can continue to follow me. If they want to stay here and live the rest of their lives peacefully, I will give them my blessing. Qin Feiyang laughed. I agree. After all, everyone has the right to choose. The mermaid princess smiled and said suspiciously, but then again, why hasn't the White-Eyed Wolf come out yet? Ling Yunfei's castle doesn't have a time array. How can he be so fast? Qin Feiyang shook his head and hugged the mermaid princess. He smiled and said, let's not talk about this first. Let's talk about the two of us. The mermaid princess blushed and said, it's so early in the morning. What do you want to do? What do you think? Qin Feiyang smiled wretchedly, and his two hands were very naughty. But suddenly, Qin Feiyang seemed to have found something. He glanced at the window and his expression suddenly froze. On the windowsill, there was a palm-sized small beast. The small beast was golden all over. It was lying on the windowsill, staring at Qin Feiyang and the mermaid princess. Its golden eyes were full of ridicule. Noticing Qin Feiyang's abnormality, the mermaid princess was stunned and looked over. When she saw the small beast, her expression suddenly froze. The small beast waved its paws and said with a sly smile, you guys continue. I will just watch and not make a sound. Qin Feiyang's mouth twitched and said suspiciously, you are the White-Eyed Wolf? What? You forgot your brother so quickly? As expected, you forget your friends when you see a girl. The White-Eyed Wolf shook its little head and sighed. That's right. This small beast was the White-Eyed Wolf. But compared to before, it had changed too much. Its fur was golden, and its eyes looked as if they were cast in gold. There were also two small golden wings on its back. And in the middle of its eyebrows, there was a blood-red pattern that looked like two phoenix wings. How did you become like this? Qin Feiyang got off the bed, walked to the windowsill, and curiously sized up the White-Eyed Wolf. The mermaid princess also had a face of surprise. The White-Eyed Wolf proudly said, do you still need to ask? Of course it's the transformation after breaking through transformation. Qin Feiyang was stunned and hurriedly asked, what kind of transformation? It's a secret, the White-Eyed Wolf grinned. Qin Feiyang immediately rolled his eyes. You just need to know that with my current strength, I can easily insta-kill a new war god. The white-eyed wolf said. What? Insta-kill a new war god? Qin Feiyang and the mermaid princess looked at each other. As true war gods, they knew how big the gap between a false god and a war god was. To put it bluntly, no matter how many false gods there were, they were all ants in front of a war god. But this guy actually dared to say that he could easily insta-kill a new war god? What kind of heaven-defying changes did it undergo after breaking through to the false god level? The white-eyed wolf looked at the two and said, "Don't keep asking me, do you want to continue or not?" The mermaid princess's face suddenly turned red. She looked at Qin Feiyang and said, "I'll go get some water, you wash up." Then she ran out as if she was running for her life. The white-eyed wolf glanced at the mermaid princess, then looked at Qin Feiyang and laughed. "Little Qin Zi, it's not that I want to criticize you, but you're too far away from Ling Yunfei and the others. What do you mean?" Qin Feiyang was suspicious. "After I came out of seclusion, I woke up Ling Yunfei, chatted for a while, and pretended to leave. In the end, I saw that kid and Zhao Shuang on the bed early in the morning making love. That intense scene was simply too exciting. Then, I went to Fatso and Lu Zheng's rooms respectively. They, Li Yan, and Lu Hong were also working hard to make babies. I thought you were the same as them. Who would have thought that after dawdling for so long, I still didn't make a move?" The white-eyed wolf shook his head and looked at Qin Feiyang with disdain in his eyes. Hearing those words, the veins on Qin Feiyang's forehead started to bulge violently. Peeping as soon as he came out of seclusion? And peeping one by one, how could he be so shameless? If Ling Yunfei and the others knew about this, it would probably leave a shadow in their hearts for the rest of their lives. Qin Feiyang glared at it and said, "Cut the crap. Since you're already here, you must have heard our conversation." "Yes." The white-eyed wolf nodded and asked, "What's wrong?" Qin Feiyang said, "Do you want to stay here, or do you want to go to the miracle with me?" "Isn't that obvious?" "Of course I want to go to the miracle. I want to destroy that small beast with my own hands and avenge the inner demons." The white-eyed wolf snorted coldly. Chapter 1908. The mermaid princess just walked in with a basin of water. Hearing the white-eyed wolf's words, she said, "The small beast and the ice dragon are so strong, it's best not to offend them for the time being. Don't worry, this brother still has this bit of self-awareness." After the white-eyed wolf finished speaking, he looked at the mermaid princess and laughed. "When are you going to make a baby? Let this brother watch from the side." "Get lost." Qin Feiyang's face darkened, and with a slap, the white-eyed wolf suddenly flew out like a meteorite. The mermaid princess shook her head and laughed. "As soon as this wolf cub comes out, the capital will definitely be lively again." Needless to say, before it peeped at us, it had already gone to peep at Ling Yunfei and the others. Qin Feiyang said helplessly. "Peep." The mermaid princess was stunned and asked, "Then did it see anything?" "It saw everything it should see, and it also saw everything it shouldn't see." Qin Feiyang shook his head. The mermaid princess was stunned to the extreme and couldn't help but laugh. While twisting the towel, she said, "This ruffian wolf really knows how to mess around. Get used to it." Qin Feiyang took the towel and washed up well. His whole person became refreshed and said with a smile, "As you said, forget about those things for the time being and accompany mother and the others." "And?" The mermaid princess nodded. "Bastard Wolf King, what are you doing?" Suddenly, an angry roar sounded. Qin Feiyang was stunned and looked at the mermaid princess. "This seems to be father's voice?" "What do you mean it seems to be? It's uncle's voice." "Such a big temper, it seems that this ruffian wolf must have done something good again." The mermaid princess said. "It's really worrisome." Qin Feiyang rubbed his forehead and said, "I'll go take a look." The mermaid princess nodded. Whoosh! Qin Feiyang flickered and appeared above Bright Sky Palace. Looking in the direction of the voice, he saw the white-eyed wolf flash in front of him and disappear in the direction of the first district. Following closely, the emperor also caught up. He didn't even wear his dragon robe, only a coat. His expression was full of anger. Qin Feiyang hurried over and asked, "Father, what's wrong?" The emperor was so angry that his face turned black. He said, "Can you look after it for me? It's simply lawless." "What did it do?" Qin Feiyang was suspicious. It actually came to peep at me and your mother. Don't you think that's too much?" The emperor said furiously. "Ugh." Qin Feiyang was stunned. He looked at Di Shi from head to toe. No wonder he came out with a coat. It turned out that he hadn't gotten up yet. Wait a minute. Even if he didn't get out of bed and peeked at her, there was no need to be so angry, right? Could it be? Qin Feiyang looked at the emperor, and his eyes immediately became strange. "What are you looking at?" The emperor frowned. Qin Feiyang laughed mischievously and said, "Dad, are you with Mom?" Even if it was the emperor, when he heard this and looked at Qin Feiyang's ambiguous expression, his face couldn't help but turn red. "Huh." Qin Feiyang laughed heartily and gave him a thumbs up. He said, "Dad is indeed old but vigorous. Come on, work hard, and strive to give me another younger brother or sister. Are you looking for a beating too?" The emperor flew into a rage out of humiliation. Qin Feiyang saw that the situation wasn't good and fled back to Bright Heaven Palace. What a brat. The emperor shook his head and glared angrily at the direction where the white-eyed wolf disappeared, then turned and disappeared from the palace. "What's wrong?" The mermaid princess stood outside the palace and looked at Qin Feiyang and asked. "This damn wolf cub, he actually dared to peep at father and mother. It seems that he should be taught a good lesson." Qin Feiyang rubbed his forehead and said. The mermaid princess didn't know whether to laugh or cry. This ruffian wolf's shamelessness was indeed well deserved. "Wait. Are we in Bright Heaven Palace?" Qin Feiyang sized up the palace and frowned. The mermaid princess was speechless. "You only realized now?" Qin Feiyang asked suspiciously, "Isn't this the little prince's palace now?" Last night, the little prince was brought to the back mountain by Emperor Hong and old Qin, saying that they would teach him step by step. The mermaid princess said. Qin Feiyang nodded in realization and said with a smile, "That's good too." With great-grandfather and old Qin's careful guidance, not to mention anything else, at least on the path of cultivation, he won't take any detours. What you did in the imperial tomb yesterday, Emperor Hong and the others also learned from the little prince. In the early morning, Emperor Hong came to find you. He wanted to talk to you, but seeing that you were drunk and unconscious, he didn't wake you up. The mermaid princess said. "Then you know about it too?" Qin Feiyang asked. Even Emperor Hong told me." "Isn't it a bit too much for you to do this?" The mermaid princess said. "Too much?" Qin Feiyang shook his head and smiled. "Maybe it's a bit too much, but I'm doing it for his own good." "For his own good?" The mermaid princess didn't understand. "I'm doing this to stimulate his fighting spirit. Think about it, what does he care about the most now? Isn't it his mother's grave? In order to let his mother's grave continue to be buried in the imperial tomb, he will definitely work hard." Qin Feiyang laughed. "So that's how it is." The mermaid princess nodded. Qin Feiyang said, "Let's go. Let's go to great-grandfather's place and do one more thing." "What is it?" The mermaid princess was suspicious. "You'll know later." Qin Feiyang smiled, hugged the mermaid princess, and stepped into the air step by step. Imperial Palace's back mountain. After passing through the mountain ridges, after about 10 breaths of time, Qin Feiyang and the mermaid princess finally entered the deepest part of the back mountain. This was a place full of life. The vegetation was lush and wild flowers were blooming. Clear rivers ran through the east, west, north, and south like giant dragons. Moreover, there were many vicious beasts here. Almost all of the vicious beasts had reached the War King realm. However, they were very well behaved and silently cultivated, making this place seem especially peaceful. The mermaid princess looked around in surprise, and said, "I never thought that there would be such a place hidden in the back mountain of the imperial palace." Yeah. When I first came here, I was also very surprised. Qin Feiyang laughed and looked at a certain place in front of him. There was a giant mountain that was more than 3,000 meters tall. White mist lingered around it, and auspicious beasts flew about. A magnificent waterfall poured down from the peak of the mountain, gathering at the foot of the mountain to form a lake that was about a few hundred meters long, connecting to the surrounding rivers. On the surface of the lake, ripples of light rippled, and lotus leaves stood tall. Groups of colorful fish swam happily in the water. Beside the lake, there was an inconspicuous small courtyard. The courtyard was very old. A row of wooden fences that were more than a meter tall surrounded the courtyard in an orderly manner. In the courtyard, other than a 2-story tall building, there was also a flower bed, a vegetable garden, a pavilion, a small stream. This place was filled with simplicity and a sense of tranquility. The mermaid princess asked, "This is where Emperor Hong lives?" "Yes." Qin Feiyang nodded. "Little girl, you're always calling me Emperor Hong." An old laugh rang out. The mermaid princess looked over and saw that at the side of the lake, there was a stone table. 2 old men were sitting opposite each other. There was a teapot and 2 teacups on the table, and the fragrance of the tea assailed their nostrils. The 2 old men slowly sipped their tea while sizing up Qin Feiyang and Yi Qintang. Their faces were full of smiles. The one who spoke was Emperor Hong. Qin Feiyang brought the mermaid princess over and said with a smile, "Great-grandfather, Elder Qin." Elder Qin nodded, looked at the mermaid princess, and said with a smile, "Little girl, Lord Emperor Hong is right. It's too distant to keep calling him Emperor Hong." The mermaid princess asked, "Then what should I call him?" Elder Qin said, "Stupid, of course you should call him great-grandfather like Feiyang." The mermaid princess blushed and bowed, "Greetings, great-grandfather." Emperor Hong smiled and said, "Sit down and talk." Qin Feiyang pulled the mermaid princess and sat on the ground. Then, he looked around and asked, "Where's the little prince? Why don't I see him?" Emperor Hong pointed to the mountain on the left and said with a smile, "Early in the morning, this old man threw him into the mountain over there and let him fight with the fierce beasts." Fight with the fierce beasts? Qin Feiyang was taken aback. He shook his head and said, "Great-grandfather, he's still so young. You're torturing him like this. You're really ruthless." "Ruthless?" Emperor Hong rolled his eyes at Qin Feiyang and said, "Who can compare to you in terms of ruthlessness?" "Ugh." Qin Feiyang was stunned, and said, "For the matter of the imperial tomb? You still know. Although that woman doesn't know how to behave, she is still the little prince's birth mother. Is it appropriate for you to do this?" Emperor Hong said. Qin Feiyang said helplessly, "It's understandable that others don't understand, but why don't you understand my painstaking efforts?" Painstaking efforts? Old man Qin and Emperor Hong looked at each other and looked at Qin Feiyang suspiciously. Qin Feiyang said, "Think about it, if there is no pressure, will the little prince cultivate desperately?" Hearing this, Emperor Hong and old man Qin understood. Emperor Hong smiled and said, "All right, this old man has wronged you. He is really lucky to have you as his brother. I'm not doing it for him." Qin Feiyang shook his head. "I understand. After all, right now, the emperor only has you 2 sons. You will leave sooner or later, so the next emperor will naturally be the little prince. If the little prince is incompetent, then it will only harm Great Qin and the people." Emperor Hong said. "Feiyang, although you're doing this for the little prince's sake, isn't it a bit too much for him to break through to the war god realm within 1,000 years? Old man Qin frowned. The little prince was still young, so his cultivation talent had not been revealed yet. But it was obvious that he could not compare to Qin Feiyang. After all, Qin Feiyang's bloodline had returned to its ancestral state. Moreover, the ancient castle also had a time array. And the little prince did not have any of these. Qin Feiyang said, "I've thought about this a long time ago, so I plan to create a land of inheritance here." Land of inheritance? Emperor Hong and Old Man Qin were surprised. The Lu family has an inheritance, and the main tower also has an inheritance. Even the former Zhuge family has an inheritance. Only our Qin clan doesn't have one. So, I'm going to pass down the dragon god technique and the other divine techniques. Qin Feiyang said. Are you willing? Emperor Hong asked. As a member of the Qin clan, it's a very gratifying thing to be able to leave something for the future descendants of the Qin clan. What's there to be reluctant about? Qin Feiyang said with a smile. P.S. The Spring Festival is here. Old Meng wishes everyone a happy new year. Everything is now peaceful and beautiful, Chapter 1909. The mermaid princess reminded him, Feiyang, have you forgotten? The Qin clan also has a heritage in the sacred land of the mermaid clan. Of course I haven't forgotten. But it's not convenient in the Sea of Despair. Besides, that is the place of inheritance for the mermaid clan. It does not belong to the Qin clan. It has a different meaning. Qin Feiyang said. Then do whatever you want. The mermaid princess thought for a while and said with a smile. No matter what the man in front of her wanted to do, she would support him unconditionally. Feiyang. Old man Qin grabbed Qin Feiyang's hand and sighed. I really don't know how to express my gratitude to you at this moment. No, it's respect. Old man Qin, you're wrong. This is what I should do and it's my duty. Qin Feiyang said helplessly. Okay. I'm being too polite. Old man Qin laughed. Qin Feiyang shook his head and smiled. He glanced around and finally looked at the center of the lake. Then, he got up and poured his divine power into the mountain in the distance. Accompanied by a rumbling sound, 5 giant stones rose into the air and flew above the lake. Then, Qin Feiyang jumped and landed in front of the 5 giant stones. His divine power turned into sharp blades and instantly drowned the 5 giant stones. Clang! 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 Then, sparks flew and dust flew. In less than a moment, 5 stone statues appeared one by one in the void. They were Ancestor Qin Di, Emperor Hong, Emperor Qin, Emperor Di, and Qin Feiyang. Each of the stone statues was about 3 meters tall and looked very lifelike. Qin Feiyang glanced at them one by one and was very satisfied. Then, his divine power turned into strands and merged into the stone statues. The 5 stone statues immediately began to change. But it wasn't the appearance that changed, but the essence. The 5 stones were just ordinary stones and were extremely fragile, so they needed to be refined with divine power. And now, he had the power of an early-stage war god. After refining with divine power, no one could break the 5 stone statues unless they were early-stage war gods. Several hundred breaths passed. The distracting thoughts within the stone statue had been completely refined. At this moment it was as hard as divine metal, and its surface was suffused with a hazy precious light and charm. If they didn't know beforehand, no one would have thought that these were just 5 ordinary rocks. After refining the stone statue, Qin Feiyang waved his hand again. The soil at the bottom of the lake surged up and gathered together, forming a platform in the middle of the lake that was as high as the surface of the water. Then, under the tempering of the divine power, the platform formed by the soil became extremely hard. Following closely, Qin Feiyang waved his hand, and the 5 stone statues landed on the platform in the middle of the lake one after another with a few loud bangs. The bottom of the stone statue and the platform were completely fused together under the refinement of Qin Feiyang's divine power. Feiyang, since this is your legacy, then your stone statue alone should be enough. Why do you need to create stone statues for us as well? Emperor Hong was puzzled. Qin Feiyang smiled and said, "You are all elders. If there is no statue of you, would I, a junior, dare to openly place my statue here? You stinking brat." Emperor Hong shook his head and scolded with a smile. Qin Feiyang closed his eyes, his expression extremely serene. Seeing this, Emperor Hong, Elder Qin, and the mermaid princess also fell silent. A moment later, Qin Feiyang suddenly opened his eyes, and a divine light flashed out from between his eyebrows, like a waterfall, fusing into the forehead of the statue. Each of those divine lights represented a type of deity art. Eclipse Moon, Guiyuan Sword Art, Origin Returning Art, Soaring Dragon Art, and the most powerful Divine Dragon Art. As for the Fire Phoenix Art, Qin Feiyang did not pass it down. After all, this was the inherited divine art of the Liu family. As for the 3,000 incarnations, he had not completely comprehended it, so he could not pass it down. The enslavement seal and puppet technique were also not suitable to be passed down. Because these two divine arts were too domineering, if they fell into the hands of a junior with bad intentions, it would definitely cause a storm of blood. Then the next step was the battle character art. However, he was also a little hesitant. The battle character art was so heaven-defying, was it really good to pass it down? After pondering for a while, he finally decided to pass down the battle character art. After all, the ones who benefited were not outsiders, but the descendants of the Qin clan. He closed his eyes again. However, gradually, his brows furrowed. What's wrong? Emperor Hong and the other two looked at him in confusion. Qin Feiyang opened his eyes and said helplessly, "I originally wanted to leave behind the battle character art, but this battle character art seems to be unable to be passed down." Unable to be passed down? The three of them looked at each other. Mermaid Princess asked, "Could it be that you haven't comprehended it thoroughly?" "Impossible, because I relied on the battle character art to become a god." Qin Feiyang shook his head. "Then what's going on?" The three of them were suspicious. Qin Feiyang said with a wry smile, "There's only one explanation, this battle character art is unique." Emperor Hong said with a smile, "If that's the case, then don't force it. Leaving behind so many divine arts is enough." Qin Feiyang nodded, and drops of purple gold dragon blood kept floating out from his chest. As the purple gold dragon blood kept appearing, Qin Feiyang's face slowly turned pale. The mermaid princess asked in surprise, "What are you doing now?" Qin Feiyang did not answer. About 100 breaths later, there were as many as 50 drops of purple gold dragon blood in the void in front of them. Each drop of purple gold dragon blood was like a gem, exuding a mighty divine dragon's aura. Qin Feiyang looked at Emperor Hong and said, "Great-grandfather, these purple gold dragon blood essences are left for the descendants of the Qin clan. You must take good care of them. Also, remember, you can only give them one drop after their bloodline awakens." "You mean?" Emperor Hong was surprised. "That's right. Like me, the bloodline awakens is only the first step. The second step is to fuse with the purple gold dragon blood. Only then will the power of the purple gold dragon blood and purple gold dragon chi be fully recovered," Qin Feiyang said. Emperor Hong frowned. "Although it's not bad, it requires the blood of a real purple gold dragon. Is your blood useful?" "Although I'm not a real purple gold dragon, these 50 drops of blood are all refined from my bloodline power. They can be compared to the purple gold dragon blood. Moreover, the drop of divine dragon blood that the ancestor left in the imperial jade seal was actually not the blood of the purple gold dragon. According to my analysis at that time, it should be a drop of blood essence refined from the bloodline power of the ancestor," Qin Feiyang said. "So that's how it is." Emperor Hong suddenly realized. He took out a jade pendant and carefully put away the 50 drops of blood essence. Qin Feiyang looked at old Qin and said, "I'll have to trouble you to prepare a brush, ink, paper, and inkstone for me." "All right." Old man Qin nodded and hurriedly moved the teacup away. Then, He took out an inkstone, ink, a brush, and a piece of pure white paper from the Qinkuan bag. Qin Feiyang said, "One is not enough, take more." Old man Qin was startled. He simply took out a large stack and placed it on the stone table. Qin Feiyang sat in front of the stone table, looking at the paper, concentrating. The mermaid princess immediately squatted at the side and helped grind the ink. Seeing this, old man Qin secretly laughed. What an obedient and sensible girl. That's right. With her taking care of Feiyang, even if Feiyang goes to the divine ruins in the future, this old man will be at ease. Emperor Hong sent a sound transmission. Then, the two of them curiously lowered their heads and looked at Qin Feiyang. What did this kid need so much paper to write? Qin Feiyang calmed himself down for a moment, then grabbed the brush and began to write. The first thing that appeared on the paper was the words potential pill. Potential pill, could it be that he left behind those pill formulas? Emperor Hong and old man Qin looked at each other, their eyes full of surprise. Shwa shwa. Not long later, the first piece of paper was filled. Every word on it was like iron hooks and silver strokes, vigorous and powerful. Qin Feiyang picked up the paper and looked at it seriously. Then, he put it aside and began to write on the next page. Potential pill. About half an hour passed. Qin Feiyang let out a long breath and finally put down the brush in his hand. A smile also appeared on his old face. Great-grandfather, these are the potential pill, small fortune pill, big fortune pill, 9-chew yellow dragon pill, 9-turn dragon blood pill, 5 elements universe pill. The medicinal ingredients needed for each pill, as well as the steps and temperature of the refining process, I have clearly recorded them all. Find a time to organize them. At that time, you can keep them yourself, or give them to father. In short, they can't fall into the hands of others. Qin Feiyang stood up and looked at Emperor Hong, reminding him. This old man understands. Emperor Hong nodded. This is all I can do. From now on, how far our Qin clan will develop will all depend on the efforts of the future generations. Qin Feiyang smiled. Don't worry, they definitely won't let you down. Emperor Hong said. I hope so. Then grandson won't disturb the two elders. After saying that, Qin Feiyang pulled the mermaid princess and stepped into the air. This child is truly my great Qin's fortune. Looking at Qin Feiyang disappearing step by step, Emperor Hong sighed. Yes. He is destined to be the one to rewrite the fate of our great Qin. Old man Qin also praised. Back to Qin Feiyang. After leaving Emperor Hong in old man Qin's sight, his body swayed, and blood flowed out from the corner of his mouth. What happened to you? Mermaid Princess's expression changed as she hurriedly supported Qin Feiyang and asked with concern. It's just that I refined too much blood essence and damaged my vitality. I'll be fine after resting for a while. Qin Feiyang waved his hand and said. Speaking of which, I want to scold you. Refining 50 drops of blood essence in one go, aren't you playing with your life? Mermaid Princess glared at Qin Feiyang and said. Qin Feiyang laughed and said, then why didn't you scold me just now? Mermaid Princess said, just now, it was because great-grandfather and old man Qin were here. I had to give you some face. Alright, I won't do it again. Even if it's not for myself, it's for you, for our future children. Take good care of yourself. Qin Feiyang lovingly stroked Mermaid Princess's forehead and said with a smile. It's good that you know. Mermaid Princess rolled her eyes at Qin Feiyang, then supported Qin Feiyang and walked towards the imperial palace step by step, her face full of heartache. You're tuning into the Biyao's Wuxia Chronicles YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.